What was supposed to be the summer of punk has turned into the fall of punk in the most disgraceful and embarrassing 72-hour period in the history of AEW. This has been the most chaotic week in AEW history, and it's not even a full week yet, but already it has been the most chaotic week. Tony Khan, a few weeks ago I said, boy, this is great news for Tony Khan, because he had all of these big names that had been out with injury. CM Punk was out, Kenny Omega was still out, Samoa Joe, although, he was out, not injured, but he came back recently from the TV gig he was filming. Adam Cole is still out, although he's expected to be back soon. MJF has been out for a few months. And so he was starting to get back all of the big pieces of his roster at the same time. Omega came back, CM Punk came back, right? He got his champion back. MJF came back on Sunday. And it looked like things were really starting to fall into place heading into the fall for the AEW roster. And now in one fell swoop, he loses CM Punk, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks for an unspecified period of time. One of the odd things about everything that has gone on in the last few days, everybody was waiting until Dynamite tonight to see what would the announcement be that Tony Khan was going to make. Who would be suspended? Is somebody going to be fired? We didn't hear a single word mentioned at all tonight on the show about CM Punk, about the Elite, anybody that was involved in what went down on Sunday. Their names were not even mentioned once. So if you are somebody who is an AEW fan, and if you watch the shows, but you have you're not really into all the internet stuff, you're not following on social media, every little thing that happens, boy, it must have felt like you were in a completely different world tuning into this show tonight, because not only was there no CM Punk and was there no Elite, all of a sudden these championships that they won on Sunday were vacant. And we were crowning new champions, and there was no mention made of what happened to the old champions. It's almost like you maybe lapsed into a coma, and you feel like you woke up and you're in a completely different time period. That was a little weird. But Tony Khan did make an announcement tonight, which he had to. He made an announcement as it relates to the championships. And he made an announcement about the AEW World Championship. The AEW World Championship is now officially vacant. AEW World Champion CM Punk hurt, didn't take the title off him. We had an interim champion. We'll keep the belt on Punk all summer long. Punk comes back, drops the title in 3 minutes on TV, gets the belt back only to get hurt again, suspended, we don't know. And now, yet again, the AEW World Championship is in limbo, and now the title is vacant. So all that interim title shit, at the end of the day, when you think about it, really was much ado about nothing. But the announcement was made tonight that we are going to have a Tournament of Champions. And actually, the Tournament of Champions began on the show tonight. But those were not the only, that was not the only announcement as far as championships go. The Trios titles, which were just introduced. We had a whole month-long tournament to crown new Trios Tag Team Champions. These titles were destined for Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. It's the entire reason why we didn't have the Young Bucks and FTR at All Out. It's because they wanted to build towards the Young Bucks winning the Trios titles with Kenny once Kenny came back from his injuries. We went to All Out, and that's exactly what they did. They put the titles on the Elite. And now the Trios titles are vacant. This is how the Trios title lineage begins. It begins with controversy. Champions who never defended the titles one time. Those titles were vacated. They were held up. We didn't have to wait very long because we have new Trios Tag Team Champions. They were crowned tonight between Death Triangle and Best Friends. Death Triangle are the new Trios Tag Team Champions, which I have no issue with at all. I think they're a fine choice. Can't get any better than that. Going into this tournament, I was hoping for the House of Black, and the House of Black has fallen apart. But we're going to cover that tonight, too. We got a whole bunch of news before we even get into this Dynamite show tonight. That we have to talk about here. But I just want to say, as far as the decision for Tony Khan to do what he did with the titles, it was the right call to make. Kudos to Tony Khan for making the right call. It was the only call to make. Was to strip everybody involved of the championships that they won on Sunday, completely negate those title wins, and put the titles up, whether it's a tournament, a battle royal, a match like we had tonight. That was the right decision for Tony Khan to make. And where the world title is concerned, it was the only decision really to make, because the belief is that CM Punk suffered a pretty serious injury in his match with Jon Moxley at All Out. This guy's made of fucking glass. CM Punk, nothing's been said officially, but CM Punk is said to be hurt. So even if he was on the show tonight, even if you wanted to get the title off of him, let's just get him to Grand Slam and he'll drop the title. Apparently he can't, because he's hurt again. Here's the bracket. This is the Grand Slam Tournament of Champions that Tony Khan announced tonight. It began tonight. It will culminate at Arthur Ashe Stadium in 2 weeks, where they will have the finals. You see Hangman Page against Bryan Danielson. Took place on Dynamite tonight. Hell of a match between those two. Bryan Danielson wins. He will meet Chris Jericho, who got a bye into the next round. I guess as a former AEW World Champion, and somebody who won his match on Sunday. He got an automatic bye into the next round. Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin are going to face off on Rampage this Friday. I assume that's being taped tonight. Actually, I don't know if Rampage is live this week. But anyway, they're in the next round, or rather, they're going to be in the first round, but on Rampage this Friday. And the winner of that match is going to go on to meet Jon Moxley in the semifinals next week. And then, of course, the finals take place at Arthur Ashe Stadium, as I said, in 2 weeks. A shout out to Charlie Ward, by the way, and all of our new channel members. CM Punk, let's go back to Punk now. CM Punk is officially a two-time AEW World Champion. He got hurt. The very next show after he won the title for the first time, he got hurt. One match he wrestled. Made the injury worse. Had to go under the knife. Had his foot operated on. Came back, lost in 3 minutes. Won the belt back, got hurt again. Coming off the previous injury. And then later that same night, he proceeded to nuke the entire company and his career, potentially. Nukes the entire company. The EVPs of the company, Hangman Page, Colt Cabana, who we haven't even seen on television in months. Total meltdown mode is what CM Punk went into. And not only is this the end of CM Punk right now as the AEW World Champion, this should be the end of CM Punk forever as the AEW World Champion. CM Punk should not be competing for a world championship in this company ever again. This is it. How can he be trusted? Look at the way he conducted himself this weekend. His body is betraying. All these things are happening. Twice now. His title reign has ended in controversy, injury, disgrace, whatever words you want to use. Time has passed him by as far as being a world champion, as far as I'm concerned. Tonight, the real leaders of this roster showed up. You want to see what real leadership looks like in this company? You watch this show tonight, you see Jon Moxley, a guy who wasn't even supposed to be on the show tonight. Jon Moxley, Fightful a few days ago mentioned that a top AEW star was going to be taking time off. They didn't name who it was. Tonight we found out who it was. And Sean Ross Sapp confirmed. That person is Jon Moxley. He was supposed to take time off, go away. For how long, I don't know. Maybe it was going to be a couple of weeks. Maybe it was going to be a month. Who knows? He was right there in the middle of the ring tonight. A guy who they have leaned on time and time and time again throughout this entire year. A guy who gets shit on by people who don't like the way he looks. They don't like the way he wrestles because certain other podcasters make fun of him, and so they have to parrot that person's talking points because they can't think for themselves. Whatever the excuse is. Jon Moxley has been the ace of all elite wrestling here in 2022. And he proved it again tonight because he went out there in the middle of the ring and he put the importance of that world championship over better than anybody that I have ever seen. Put over the AEW World title as being the most important thing in pro wrestling. That's a leader on the roster. We saw Bryan Danielson go out there tonight and have an excellent match, which is what he does. What does Bryan Danielson do? Bryan Danielson goes out there and he wrestles. He goes out there, that's what he does best. And he did that tonight with Hangman Page. He's the guy that you can depend upon. Chris Jericho. who also is a very polarizing figure these days. Some people want to see him go away. Some people still love him as much as they loved him 15 years ago. But the one thing about Chris Jericho, and by all accounts, with everything that was going on Sunday backstage, he was a leader. He was a calming figure. He was trying to calm the situation down. He was trying to be a steady hand at a time when, frankly, there weren't very many of them this weekend. But you saw these three men on the show tonight. You saw Moxley, you saw Jericho, you saw Danielson, who apparently were also leading the backstage meeting. They had another all-talent meeting backstage at Dynamite tonight. This is like the second one in 2 weeks or 3 weeks that Tony Khan has had to host. And they were the three names leading the meeting tonight. Leaders. People that, if you're on the roster, you can look to these men. You can use them and look to them as examples. Unlike some of the other people that we saw this past weekend. And so you had them on the show tonight with a mix of the younger talent that they like to feature. They like featuring Daniel Garcia. He was in the main event. Main event Garcia strikes again. Wheeler Yuta. Wardlow, right? Who should be a world champion one day for them. The Acclaimed, who are fucking mega over right now. I would say even more over than FTR. And FTR is pretty fucking over with the AEW crowd. You had a good mix. You had a good mix of, again, the veteran presence and the younger talent on this show tonight. This was an episode of Dynamite. This was honestly the episode of Dynamite that they needed to get the train back on the tracks. I thought tonight's episode was a very good episode. This was the episode that they needed to put this shit behind them, get things back on track, and start building towards Grand Slam in 2 weeks, which is going to be one of their biggest shows of the year. They'll have maybe 15,000 people, maybe a little less, in the building in 2 weeks. That needs to be their focus. MJF is back. He was on the show tonight. That needs to be their focus. And I thought tonight's show did a very good job of accomplishing that. This is your AEW Dynamite review for Wednesday, September 7, 2022. I am the Solomonster. We have a lot of stuff, a lot of news to get into here. I have a lot more to say about Punk and everything. I have more details, stuff that I didn't talk about the other day that we have now learned about in terms of the brawl in the back. And I'm going to let you know what I think should be happening here to some of these people. But hit the subscribe button if you are new here. Super chats are open. I see them popping up on my screen. Look at this. I see green. I see yellow. I want to see some pink. That's what I want to see. I'm going to read your super chats a little bit later on. I want to know what you guys thought of not only the episode tonight. What do you think should happen with CM Punk? What do you think should happen with the Elite? I'm going to tell you what I think, but I want to know what you think and if you agree with me. So drop those super chats. We'll read them later. 650 likes. That's the minimum. 650 minimum to do Be the Booker later tonight. I know we're already well on our way there, so hit that like button. Now let's go back a little bit here because I have been trying to keep track of all of the news and details that have been coming out. There's been so much shit that's been coming out since Sunday. It's ridiculous to try to keep track of everything that's going on. The one thing I will say is, again, there was no mention of CM Punk, Kenny Omega, the Elite, or any of these people on TV tonight. Whatever decision Tony Khan either has made or is going to make is being kept in-house. I don't know that they're going to make it public, but you know it's going to leak at some point. We still don't know what the status officially is of CM Punk. We still officially don't know what the status is of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, although we have heard that everybody who was in that room, anybody who was either in CM Punk's locker room or anywhere near that room, has been suspended. But that is not a press release or anything official that AEW has issued. So let's go back a little bit here because I do have some more details. Now, this comes from PW Insider. Let's go back to Monday. PW Insider Mike Johnson. These are some of the details that he had coming out of the brawl, if you want to call it that, the embarrassment that occurred on Sunday night. This is according to PW Insider. After CM Punk finished venting his heart out at the media scrum, he returned to his locker room where there was an altercation. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks went to Punk's locker room and confronted him about his comments. Now remember what CM Punk said during the media scrum. He went off on the Elite. He went off on the EVPs without actually naming them. There aren't that many EVPs left, right? Cody's not around anymore, so we know who the EVPs are. And he went off on them, and remember what he said in the scrum. He said, if you have a problem with me, come fucking find me. Say it to my face. Come find me. Apparently, the Elite took that to heart, and they went to go find CM Punk. They went to his locker room. There was a physical altercation with Punk, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson specifically. There was no fighting that we know of between Punk and Kenny Omega. And there are differing accounts about who threw the first punch. I'm reading stuff that Punk was the first person to throw a punch, but again, there's differing accounts about that. Ace Steel is also involved in this whole thing because Ace Steel is very good friends with Punk. We saw him on TV a few weeks ago. He's the one who trained CM Punk. He works behind the scenes for AEW. Ace Steel arrived on the scene. He did get involved. His wife apparently was either in the vicinity or she was in the locker room at the time, possibly in there watching over Punk's dog Larry because they were in Chicago. So Punk had his dog Larry there with them in the locker room. I have no confirmation whether Larry bit somebody or got involved in this fight. A number of AEW staff and security hit the scene to break up the fracas and separate Punk's side from the Elite side. Once the sides were separated, they continued to argue for some time before the Bucks and Omega exited the area of his locker room. There was a lot of yelling from each side. Tony Khan was not present for any of this because this was during a period where Tony Khan was still sitting at the media scrum. And they were bringing in other wrestlers. In fact, there was one point where Chris Jericho, when he gets up to leave, he says something. He whispers something to Tony Khan. You can hear some of what he said. He basically said to Tony Khan, some shit went down. So whatever happened had already taken place, but Tony Khan wasn't there for any of it. At least one of the Young Bucks returned to the hotel sporting a black eye. I cannot verify whether or not it is the Young Buck that has a black eye here in the artwork tonight. Shout out to Steve for the artwork here on the channel. So then Meltzer and Alvarez on Observer Radio Monday night, this is what they had to say. They said there is no dispute that CM Punk punched Matt Jackson. And he said multiple times. Meltzer said he punched him multiple times. There is no dispute that Ace Steel threw a chair. This is ridiculous. Ace Steel threw a chair that hit Nick Jackson in the face. I heard he hit Nick Jackson in the eye. Or that Ace Steel bit Kenny Omega and pulled his hair. I half expect this guy to show up on TV with a fucking Dracula cape on him and the fucking fangs. He's going around biting people now. I did that. When I was 5 years old in kindergarten. One of the kids in my class, shoot, no bullshit. One of the kids took my Lego, so I bit him on the fucking arm. I was 5. They sent me home to my parents. How old is Ace Steel? He's old enough. So he allegedly bit Kenny Omega. Maybe he should get tested. There is one side that claims that Punk threw the first punch when the Bucks came into the room where the brawl broke out, while the other side claims the Bucks were the aggressors and Punk and Steel were simply defending themselves. Both Meltzer and Alvarez reached out to all the parties involved. Nobody is allowed to talk because there is potential legal action pending. So that, all the people saying, oh, it's a work. I'm still getting messages. It's a work. You're being worked, bro. All I can do is laugh at these fools. So there may be legal action involved here. Then on Tuesday, every day is a new day with new details. On Tuesday, Fightful Select. Sean Ross Sapp reported that Ace Steel is expected to be fired after the altercation. Says, we're told that Ace Steel cracked Nick Jackson with a chair, with another person saying that they think he's lucky to not be in jail. Several sources in AEW that we spoke with said that they believe Ace Steel will not be back in the company. It was said to be a 5 to 6 minute brawl. Now think about that. 5 minutes is a long time. A 5 to 6 minute brawl, that's fucking long. So I don't know who was left backstage to try to get in and break this up. But apparently this went on for some time. This was not a quick 60-second thing. Sean Ross Sapp knew that many talent believed that Punk was involved with Colt Cabana losing his job and that the Young Bucks went to bat for him, but sat on the story for 3 months as he was unable to get confirmation. He had asked Cabana to comment on all of this, but he refused and said that he was refusing to talk about it for the sake of his mental health. Said to be unbelievable and incredible heat right now towards Ace Steel behind the scenes in the company. Punk was credited for several of AEW's deals, and Sean Ross Sapp is not sure if they would lose those deals without Punk. He also got word that suggested Discovery, I don't know about Warner Discovery, but at least the Discovery side is not happy about this. And that's the thing that you really have to pay attention to. Because if Warner Brothers Discovery, who has to know about this, I mean, this is all over the place. They're not stupid. So your television partner hears about this, and it looks like you've lost control of your company. You've lost control of your locker room. You have guys that are going on TV, dropping F-bombs, which Ace Steel did a couple of weeks ago. Or maybe it was a week ago. You've got brawls breaking out. You've got infighting. You've got EVPs that apparently are brawling with members of the roster. How do you think that's going to make a television partner feel? So if this is true, and word is coming down that Discovery is not happy about this, that's something that Tony Khan has to be take very seriously and pay very close attention to. And if Discovery were to say, you know what, we want this guy gone, we want that guy gone, it doesn't matter who it is, they're gone. If they say we want Punk gone, he's gone. So that, to me, more than anything else that we have talked about or that we will talk about, that right there is going to be the single most important thing to pay attention to going forward. If Discovery has any kind of concerns about this, if they come down and say, hey, get your shit together, it doesn't make AEW look good. He also said that the locker room is way more anti-CM Punk than he has ever seen it. Now, Punk did say during the scrum, when he made that comment about I'm old, I'm hurt, I work with children, he did say that he was hurt. The people wondering if this is all, he does not really injured, they suspended him and it's a cover or something like that. I mean, he did say during the scrum that he's hurt. He didn't specifically say it was a new injury, but he did make the comment that he was hurt. Maybe that played a role in how cranky he was, but it doesn't excuse his behavior. I have to say, I am actually very surprised by the number of people who have stuck up for CM Punk as though he did nothing wrong. These are people who I'm sure don't like the Bucks. They don't like, all friends wrestling, and there may be a lot of truth to some of the stuff that CM Punk said, and so therefore they take his side, and it's as if, well, he had no choice but to do what he did, or, well, okay, maybe he could have gone about it a different way, but he was justified for doing what he did. No, he wasn't. There's a time and a place. This was not the time nor the place. Most people, when they get hurt, and if they're sitting there, they're not going to have a nuclear meltdown the way that he did. So I don't want to hear the excuses that, well, maybe he was hurt and that's why, he was cranky or whatever. Maybe he was hangry, which is why he was sitting there eating fucking muffins or cupcakes or whatever the fuck he was munching on the entire time, licking his fingers. I don't want to hear it. It's bullshit. You're in a setting like that, you act like a fucking human being. He's out there acting like an uncaged animal. And look at where we are now. Look at what it led to. I made the comment the other night when I did the video, the first CM Punk video. I said, it's amazing how communication breakdowns in situations like this are what lead to 95% of these problems. And if Punk or the Bucks or anybody had an issue with each other, all they had to do is go, hey, brother, can I talk to you for a second? And I guarantee you this entire situation could have been avoided. 97% of the time, these types of situations can be avoided just by going to the person and trying to talk to them man to man. Nobody chose to do that here. They go behind people's backs, or they make it public at a media scrum when you're supposed to be talking about this great pay-per-view that you just had. CM Punk just became the world champion in Chicago for a second time. He's in his hometown. And this guy decides to sit down and pick a fight about Colt Cabana. Because again, go back and watch the beginning of the scrum. Nobody mentioned the name Colt Cabana. Nobody mentioned the name Scott Colton except Phil Brooks. He was the one who brought it up. He was the one who lit the spark that set the whole fucking place on fire. As far as Ace Steel, he's got to go. I would be shocked. The way that I would have been shocked if WWE had brought back Johnny Ace with all the stuff that went down back in July. He was always going to be the fall guy. There was no way he was coming back, and sure enough, of course, they did not bring him back. Ace Steel has to go. Ace Steel has no business being there. He's going in there. He's getting involved. He's biting people and throwing chairs possibly. And again, none of this is confirmed. We're going by the details that we've heard. If that is the case, if that is true, he's got to go. As far as CM Punk is concerned, do I think that Tony Khan is going to fire him and get rid of him? I don't. Would I fire him and get rid of him? Yes, I would. AEW does not need CM Punk at this point. And I wouldn't have said this a month ago. I think CM Punk actually has done some good for the company. And yes, there may be certain business deals in place that he helped with, him being there helped with. It's pretty clear to me at this point that this guy is going to be a headache and a distraction going forward that this company simply doesn't need. If it were me, I would have fired him just for the outburst at the scrum even before he got into the fight. But if it comes out that when these guys came together, he threw the first punch and he got that fight going, he's got to go. I don't know that Tony Khan has the balls to do that, but if it were me, I would fire CM Punk. Get rid of him. Goodbye. More trouble than he is going to be worth going forward. I already wouldn't put the world title on him. We've tried that twice. So I wouldn't even think about putting the world championship back on him. So what are you going to use him for? I guess you can use him to put over younger talent. He could be kind of a gatekeeper for people to get past him to get to the world champion. At this point, you know what? You had the year. He had the meltdown. Here we are now. We are where we are. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth the headaches. I mean, what are you going to do? He'll come back and be healthy enough to work a couple of matches at a time before he gets hurt again? If he was some kind of locker room leader, if he was someone that people could look to and say, oh my God, he's been such a great influence on the locker room. You know, even if this guy physically, his body is breaking down, there's other roles he could play in the company. He's so well respected. We don't hear any of that about CM Punk. I mean, there may be people that have said, oh, I've gone to him for advice and he's given me advice. But how many stories like that about CM Punk do you hear? Not very many. And apparently there's a lot of anti-CM Punk sentiment in the locker room. So again, what benefit at this point is he even bringing you? Do you need that toxic environment in your company? As far as, you know, the EVPs, I don't want to make it sound like they're absolved of any responsibility in this. I think it's pretty clear at this point that giving those guys EVP titles was a big fucking mistake. Which makes sense. You have guys that are active talents who are also executive vice presidents in the company, even if it's only in title only, which I think it pretty much is only in title only, but still. Probably not a good idea. I have no idea if there's any legal way for Tony Khan to strip them of their EVP status. It might not be so simple as him being able to wave a magic wand. But it would probably be a good idea to do that, if he has any way to do that. The whole thing is a mess. The whole thing is ridiculous. Everybody should be at the very least suspended without pay. Let them investigate. Let them figure out what the fuck happened here. Apparently, that's what they're going to be doing. They're in the middle of investigating this. There were witnesses to this. There was apparently a legal officer who works for AEW who may have witnessed the entire thing. So there's going to be an investigation going on, and we're going to find out what bodies may or may not fall at the end of all this. Maybe it'll come out that CM Punk was not the aggressor, and Matt and Nick Jackson, all of a sudden, they became enraged. It's hard for me to envision that all of a sudden you're going to come barging, kicking the fucking door down, and start throwing bombs. But the mood that CM Punk was in, yeah, I could see him throwing the first punch. We'll see when all the details become clear, but nobody comes out of this situation looking good. And I think the one thing that we can all agree on coming out of this episode, because Tony Khan was completely embarrassed on Sunday night, sitting there allowing CM Punk to go off, not doing a better job of trying to cut him off, and just letting him speak and letting him, basically just torch the entire company, torch the entire top of his roster. Everybody except Jon Moxley and Adam Cole. Those were about the only two people he had praise for. That and his cupcakes. It did not make Tony Khan look good. It's time for Tony Khan to stop being a friend and start being a boss. And tonight, we got a little bit of that. Stripping them of their championships, seemingly suspending them. They took them out of the intro of the show. They weren't even in the opening video, the opening signature of the show. No mention of them tonight. It's a step in the right direction, but this was a situation that could have been avoided. It wasn't. It will go down as the most disgraceful, as I said, the most disgraceful 72 hours in the history of this company. Hopefully for their sake, there's nowhere to go but up. You reset. That's what tonight's show kind of felt like. It felt like a reset. Reset, recalibrate things, and move ahead. Take time to figure out what you're going to do with the EVPs and some of these other people that have been suspended. If anybody's going to be fired, they'll make that decision, and then they'll go from there. But I've been wrestling with this CM Punk question now for a few days, and as more of these details have come out, I've been thinking, what would I do in this situation? Would I keep CM Punk? Would I not? I don't think it's worth it. At this point, I don't think it's worth the headache. I think it would end up being more of a negative to the company than a positive. Or to the roster, anyway. He's not needed. Now, I mentioned Malachi Black. I mentioned the House of Black. But I was referring to Malachi Black. There's news on Malachi Black. Fightful heard from numerous AEW talents that they have been told that Malachi Black is done with the company for the foreseeable future. Many of them saying that he got his release. AEW sources claim the release is highly conditional, which is unusual for AEW. You don't hear stories about people getting released at all. But certainly if they do, usually you get released and they're free and clear. You don't hear stories about Tony Khan holding people hostage the way that Vince McMahon did, the way that WWE has done to so many people before. So for AEW is very unusual. And they're told by many in the company that Tony Khan specifically wanted to retain Malachi and had hoped to see him as part of the brand for years to come. He did sign a 5-year deal. And I think he had 4 years left in a 5-year deal. So it wasn't as if, Tony Khan signed him to a short-term contract. He had this guy locked up for a long time. He wanted Malachi to be part of this company and to be part of this roster for a very long time. I don't doubt that for a second, and that he tried to, work things out with him, and there were efforts to have conversations to salvage the working relationship that they believe were fruitful, but in the end, a meeting took place recently, and it was decided that if Black wanted out, they probably should allow it. Talent are of the belief that there are heavy restrictions on him, and there may be more to the agreement, including conditions that would prevent him from wrestling elsewhere. Black has already withdrawn from an independent show in Ohio on September 9th. AEW sources told Fightful that the door is not closed on a potential return for him as far as they have heard. So we don't know the details of this personal situation. Heard a few days ago that something is going on in his life that may be non-wrestling related that he needs to focus on and tend to. And there have been other reports about his mental health and stuff. It's none of my business. It's none of your business. It's none of anybody's business. If he's going through something personally as far as his mental health is concerned, then the number one thing he needs to focus on is his health. If there really is something that serious going on, then pro wrestling is not his priority. So I hope everything works out, whatever it is, whether it's his health, whether it's a family member, whatever it may be, that he takes whatever time he needs to kind of sort that shit out, because that has to be priority number one. But it is sad. It is sad. And the belief is that they're not even sure he'll come back. I had high hopes for him when he came to AEW because he had a lot of unrealized potential in WWE. And just when it looked like he was getting another chance to reset the character on SmackDown, he got fired. So nobody in their right mind can look at what WWE did with him and can say, well, they used that guy to his full potential. No, they didn't. They never did. He sat in a room for fucking 4 months going, fight me, right? They didn't know what the fuck to do with this guy. Then when it looked like they were about to reboot him, he was gone. Tony Khan scooped him up. He had the feud with Cody Rhodes. And it looked like, okay, he's going to be on solid footing here in this company. He'll be in a better position in this company than he was in WWE. The House of Black formed. I like the idea of the House of Black. I think it's cool. I like that they brought in Brody King. They have Buddy Matthews, who has a history with Malachi. They've worked together a lot. But then we really didn't see them featured all that often. And they're wrestling these teams that, they're hardly exciting opponents and high-profile matches on the show. Then we found out a few months ago that for months, he's been dealing with a debilitating back injury that he thought might force him into retirement. Who knows? Maybe the back injury plays into this, as far as why he wants to step away. But he revealed that on his social media a few months ago, that he finally, I think, was able to treat it and his back improved. So we really don't know how much of that may have affected his lack of television time. Maybe it's not all Tony Khan's fault, but I think AEW definitely dropped the ball in a lot of ways with Malachi Black and the House of Black. And he should have been in a bigger position than he was in. So it sucks. I hope he comes back. I hope he can get another chance on the roster. But it doesn't sound like he's going to get his release and then go back and work for Triple H and WWE. Anybody expecting him to go back to WWE and work under Triple H, in 6 months or a year, highly conditional release does not mean to me that he's going anywhere. If he comes back to wrestling, it'll be right here in AEW. And I do think he'll come back. I think he'll be back at some point. But right now, he's got more important things to worry about. Thunder Rosa's name was going around earlier this afternoon. There was a report floating around about Thunder Rosa asking for her AEW release, not once, but twice, and being denied the first time and then asking for it again. Numerous AEW sources have spoken to Sean Ross Sapp to debunk those claims. I saw Brian Alvarez came out and flat out said no. Thunder Rosa has not asked for her release. It's bullshit. I wasn't even going to go into it until I saw it reported by a reputable outlet, and I never did. And so until I do, that's the end of that. So anybody wondering about Thunder Rosa, pay no attention to it. Chris Statlander underwent knee surgery today based on photos that she posted on her Instagram. She came back from an ACL tear only a few months ago. She was out for a long time. And she came back and she looked good, and it looked like they were really building her up, and they had big plans for her. I'm convinced that she was going to be the one to take the TBS title from Jade Cargill. So they had big plans for her, and then unfortunately she just tore the other ACL. And she also suffered several smaller fractures to her knee. She's expected to be out for at least 6 to 8 months, which puts her out until probably just after the Revolution pay-per-view, March, April, like WrestleMania season. So again, it sucks. It's horrible timing for her. It's another name, this one of the women's division, that Tony Khan has lost. Look, he's been dealt some blows. All those big names, and he got a bunch of them back, and now a bunch of them are suspended and possibly fired. Thunder Rosa, out with an injury. Chris Statlander, out with an injury. There's a couple of other people also. Christian Cage. That's a legitimate injury. That's not a storyline. I think it's an arm injury. He may be having surgery. We don't know how long he'll be out for. So AEW has been very, very snake-bitten over the summer when it comes to injuries, and Chris Statlander is just another name to put on that list. So let's get into the actual Dynamite show from tonight, which was a very newsworthy show. In case you couldn't tell, with everything going on and the title situation and everything, it was a very newsworthy episode of Dynamite tonight. Let me just remind you real quick here before I get into all of this that hit that like button. I want to get those likes up to 1,000 if we can. And we will definitely be diving into your super chats later. Again, let me know what you think about this stuff. Everything I had to say about Punk, the Bucks, the EVPs. I know you have opinions just like I do. That's how I feel. I don't apologize for it. I said what I said. You let me know what you think. Dynamite tonight opened with footage of MJF returning at the end of All Out. And they left out all the footage of CM Punk. So from the moment that he walked out at the end of the show, he stood on stage. You would never even know that CM Punk was in the building. They completely cut him out. There was no reference to him or any of the other parties at all. They were Benoit from this broadcast. Tony Khan was on screen, and he was booed when they showed him on screen, which I thought was funny. So I didn't think they would send him out to the ring. So they put him up on the Videotron. He got booed. He announced that the AEW World Championship was officially vacant. A new champion would be crowned in a tournament of champions. Again, here's the bracket for those of you who may have missed it. These are the men in the tournament, and it will culminate in Grand Slam in 2 weeks from Arthur Ashe Stadium. I look at this bracket here, and we already know Danielson is moving on. It's going to be Danielson and Chris Jericho next week. Yeah, my first thought is we're going to get the Blackpool Combat Club in the finals. You're going to get Danielson one-on-one with Jon Moxley. And I do think that has to be the favorite match so far, but I'll throw another one at you here. I would love to see Bryan Danielson one-on-one with Darby Allin. There's something about that match. I think it would be a great match. Darby is one of those AEW originals who has been there from day one and didn't come from WWE, and the people love him. You put Danielson and Darby in the main event at Arthur Ashe, I think you're going to have yourself a hell of a main event. So I think it'll be Danielson and Mox, but my dark horse pick, I'm going to say, is Danielson and Darby Allin. But we'll see. We'll see how that shakes out. So MJF was out next. They play his music. This fucking guy gets a monster babyface reaction, which you knew he would. And they were in New York. They were in Buffalo. So he comes out to a monster babyface pop, and he's really hamming it up. And he's got a Josh Allen jersey on. He's a quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. He runs over to the announce desk. He's celebrating and like high-fiving Taz. He still flipped off Tony Schiavone. He's like posing with the fans along the aisleway the way Chris Jericho used to when he was Lionheart in WCW. Like, he's really hamming it up here. He gets in the ring and he asks the crowd if they're excited to see him. He calls Josh Allen the greatest quarterback of all time. Praised Buffalo. And he said, the last time I was here, I said some offensive things. And he tried to play it off like he was just kidding about what he said and said, I love this place. I love AEW. I'm never going to leave this place. He started an AEW chant. Says he also didn't mean it when he called all the fans stupid marks. He encouraged the crowd to chant for themselves because without them, there would be no MJF. And then he insulted an obese woman in the crowd. And he said, no, just kidding, just kidding. You'll see me after the show. So he addressed the world title tournament and why he's not in it. He goes, I got a poker chip that gives me a world championship match anytime I want. It's like their Money in the Bank. So I don't need to be in the tournament. I don't have to go through the first round. I don't have to beat somebody in the second round. I don't have to go to the finals. Anytime I want a world title match, I got one in my back pocket. And he says, Tony Khan's already paying me a boatload of money. He said, right now, the fans might think this is dark times, but what we need right now is leadership. And he's the most qualified leader in the company. He told the story of Moses parting the Red Sea and leading his people to the promised land. He called himself better than Moses. If that isn't on a fucking t-shirt on Shop AEW by tomorrow, then I don't know what these people are doing. These people are out of their minds. They're leaving money on the table if that isn't a t-shirt in 24 hours. So he ended the promo by leading the crowd with I'm better than you, and they finished it off and said, and you know it. Biggest babyface in the building, and then Jon Moxley comes out. And he does his entrance through the crowd. Here comes Moxley. And he had a microphone in his hand. He stood, he's on one side of the ring. MJF is on the other. He called MJF absolutely full of crap. And MJF asked if he thought he wasn't being sincere. You think I'm not being sincere? In front of all these grotesque lard asses with the worst football team in all of America. And then he pulled off the Josh Allen jersey, he wiped his ass with it, he threw it away. MJF said that he has a point, though. Maybe he doesn't care about AEW or these people. Maybe he considers it a bargaining chip in the bidding war of 2024. He threatened to take the title to a real wrestling company with real fans and real wrestlers like his hero, the American roller coaster, Cody Rhodes. I thought he was going to mention Baron Corbin. The two of them are all chummy on Twitter. I can't see what Corbin is ever saying to him because the fucker blocked me years ago, but I know they're like best friends online. I thought he was going to mention Corbin. He said he could go to work for a real boss. He said the only con in wrestling worth a damn, jolly old Saint Nick. And he quoted his favorite wrestler of all time, The Game, and he said that that's what would be best for business. Moxley slapped the microphone out of his hand. Look, I don't want to hear Chris Jericho do an interview like he did last week ever again and say that we focus on our own stuff. We never mention WWE. We don't even think about them. We don't mention them. I don't ever want to hear him say that again. I like this promo too, but I don't want to hear. When he said that, I just shook my head. And then here we are again talking about Triple H and Nick Khan and Cody Rhodes. So Moxley told him that he wasn't in the mood and that he needed to leave the ring right now or he was going to make him leave the ring. And MJF took off his scarf. He took off his dress shirt. His dress shirt got caught on his wrist. It happens to the best of us. It happened to The Rock on television many years ago. And it's very embarrassing, but he played it off comedically. He was, trying to use the ropes to rip it off. Finally, the shirt came off. And he was squaring up for a fight. Of course, he bailed outside the ring and he left. Moxley started his promo. And this right here was one of the absolute highlights of the night. He said that he was pissed off and embarrassed about a good many things, but mostly about no longer being the AEW World Champion. How many times have I complained and talked over the years, usually on WWE television, when a guy or a woman, could be anybody, but when a champion loses their title? This used to happen all the time with John Cena. It would annoy the fucking shit out of me. He would get screwed over somehow, whatever. He would lose the world title, WWE title, and he would show up on TV the next night, smiling, "Hey, Stu, let's go to work, Stu." And he'd be saluting and he'd big smile on his face, and it would just drive me nuts. Like, dude, you just got screwed over the night before. You were the world champion. Now you're not. And it never seemed to faze him. Well, here's a guy coming out here saying, look, I'm pissed off in a bad mood because I lost my world championship the other night. As it should be. So he wasn't very happy about that. He said it represents the passion for this sport. That title represents to him the passion for this sport. The passion of the people in the back and the fans in the stands. He said the AEW Championship represents everything that he loves about professional wrestling. He said the fact remains, though, that on Sunday he lost, and that's on him. Said I was supposed to be on vacation right now, up until a couple of days ago. He said this tournament is another chance to push The Rock up the hill one more time, and he put over each of the other competitors in the tournament. You like that, huh, in the chat? Stu! Let's go to work, Stu! He's always talking to that one camera guy, Stu. You doing okay, Stu? So Moxley said the best players always want the ball. This was his time to take the ball and run with it. He said now was the time to become a legend. And I'm not even doing this justice as far as like the passion in his voice. And I mean, he was all into it. Like this, with this one promo, Jon Moxley put this fucking company on his back, as he has been doing all year long, especially this summer. When CM Punk got hurt, he stepped in. He went to the main event of Forbidden Door. He wrestled Tanahashi. They put the title on him. He defended the title numerous times, in fact, on television over the summer. All while he was doing his independent tour, right? He's wrestling all over the independent scene. But he was a guy that Tony Khan could rely on, who still was one of the top stars in the company. He's one of his MVPs in all of AEW. When Tony Khan needs him, Jon Moxley has been there. Jon Moxley was there tonight when he wasn't even supposed to be. And he went out there in this one promo, and the passion that he had, those were the words of a man who meant everything that he said. That's what this felt like to me. You want to go out there and do a wrestling promo and make someone like me feel like, you know what? This guy sounds like he means what he says. Yeah, he's doing a promo putting over a fake wrestling belt, but you know what? Goddamn, man, he sounds like he believes everything that's coming out of his mouth right now. That title means more to him than life itself. And that's exactly the kind of promo they needed, because this championship, look what's happened with the AEW title this summer. It's a joke. So he took this company and yet again did what he did all those many weeks and months ago. He put the company on his back and said, I got you. I thought this promo was fantastic. He stepped up. He stepped up again and put the focus back on where it belongs. Not on backstage bullshit, not on gossip, not on Colt Cabana, Hangman Page, going into business for yourself. He put it back on where it needed to be, on the World Championship. Some people lost sight of that. MJF being back, what can I say? He was fantastic. You knew he was full of shit from the moment he walked out there, but man, if you want a great example, if you want a great visual aid of what a babyface MJF could be for this company and whether or not the crowd is willing to embrace him as a babyface, I mean, we already knew they would, but you look at the reaction he got tonight. Even if he wasn't wearing the jersey that he was wearing, what was it, Josh Allen jersey, right? Because you knew that was going to get the cheap pop. But even if he wasn't wearing that, this guy got such a gigantic reaction. Chris Jericho said at the media scrum that he's had conversations in the past with MJF, like, dude, you're going to be the biggest babyface in this company. And he said, MJF was like, no, God, no, I don't want to be a babyface. He goes, dude, it's going to happen. Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. And we're already seeing that. Now, when he turned on them tonight, they reacted in kind and they booed him, but they still fucking love the guy. He's money. And I missed him. I miss seeing him on my TV. That's what I got out of this. He was gone for too long. I missed having MJF on my TV. Curiously, there was no mention of Stokely Hathaway's faction. I mean, they came out later in the show, no MJF with them. And MJF came out here, no Stokely or any of his people, the ones who helped him win the ladder match on Sunday. So we don't know if he has any sort of formal connection with the faction or anything like that. It was never mentioned. They were not out there with him. I thought that was a little curious. But great performances here from both guys. MJF was fantastic, and Jon Moxley knocked it out of the park. And every time someone wants to shit on him and, you know, talk shit about Moxley, I'll just point them to some of the work he's done recently for this company. You don't have to like the guy, but you have to at least respect the fact that when push comes to shove, he is one of the most reliable talents that Tony Khan has on his roster. And for that reason alone, he is worth whatever Tony Khan is paying him. Again, make fun of the way he looks. Make fun of whatever you want. Oh, he bleeds all the time. He's a garbage wrestler. I mean, I've been hearing a lot of hate directed towards John. I think I know where it's coming from. But I've been hearing a lot of hate directed towards Jon Moxley in recent months. And you're certainly entitled to that opinion. And look, I'm not always a fan of some of the matches that this guy goes out and has, especially outside the company. But you cannot deny how important a piece of this company this man has been. We had Death Triangle against Best Friends and Orange Cassidy for the vacant Trios Championships. All 6 men ended up in the ring. Best Friends got cleared from the ring, quickly came back in. They sent Death Triangle out to ringside. Orange Cassidy dove out onto all 3 men. Pac worked over Trent as the show came back from a break. Orange Cassidy tagged in. He got caught with a hard back elbow from Pac. Danhausen jumped on the apron. He pointed at Pac. And shout out to Bill's Mafia leader, who just became a Sound Off superstar, one of our newest channel members. Bill's Mafia leader. I wonder if he's from Buffalo. We might have another Buffalo guy here in the chat tonight. Beowulf says, I don't hate the guy. I just don't want to see him be the champion again. Hey, that's perfectly fine. Hey, no argument from me. I mean, if people have Jon Moxley fatigue as far as him holding the world title, I get it. I feel you. But again, you also have to be impartial enough to admit that he has been a pretty important part of this company, and Tony Khan should be thanking his lucky fucking stars that he has at least that one member of the Shield on his roster. By the way, I wasn't even aware until earlier today. Never even struck me, and somebody mentioned it to me, that November, Survivor Series, this November is the 10-year anniversary of the Shield. It's going to be 10 years since Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins debuted and beat up John Cena and Ryback on that Survivor Series show. And then went out the month after at TLC in Brooklyn. That was the first show they ever did at the Barclays Center. I was in the building that night and had that fucking incredible 6-man tag against Kane, Ryback, and Daniel Bryan. 10 years have gone by. It's amazing. Maybe they should put Roman and Seth together on the 10-year anniversary of The Shield. They could put them together at Survivor Series. So again, Danhausen jumped up on the apron, pointed at Pac. Alex Abrahantes was out there. Took a break from selling the HP laptops on QVC. And he pulled Danhausen down off the apron. Danhausen put a curse on him. And Alex just kind of mocked him like, what is that going to do? And then Danhausen kicked him in the balls. Pac went outside, took out Danhausen with a pump kick. Orange Cassidy recovered and landed a crossbody on Pac, followed by a tornado DDT. Trent landed a tornado DDT on Phoenix. Pac and Phoenix, they cleared Trent from the ring. Phoenix hit an assisted code red on Trent for a near fall. This all built to a triple Canadian destroyer from Death Triangle to Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. Phoenix and Penta followed up with dives on Cassidy and Trent on the floor. That left Chuck all by himself in the ring. Up to the top goes Pac, and he hits the Black Arrow for the win. Good stuff from these two teams, and Death Triangle are your new AEW Trios Tag Team Champions. Pac is a double champion. He's got the All-Atlantic title, and he's got the Trios title, and Pac is fucking great. So I love the fact that he has not one but 2 titles now in this company, and they were absolutely the right choice to go over in this match. I'm seeing all the QVC love in the chat. I like it. I will put QVC out every now and then. It calms me. It's a weird thing. When I have nothing else to watch, but I want to have something on the TV, I put on QVC. You know what I think it is? The fact that it's live. It's just something about it. It calms my nerves. And around the holidays, they have all this wacky holiday shit that they have. But it's usually it's the food stuff. They have a lot of food stuff on QVC. I'm always very tempted to buy the Corky's stuff. Anyway, you don't care. So backstage, the Dark Order was interviewed. Speaking of not caring, I really don't care about the Dark Order, but thankfully it was limited just to this one segment tonight. Preston Vance was with them, with Evil Uno. He was there as well, John Silver. All of a sudden, here comes Jose, Andrade's assistant. He bypasses the rest of the Dark Order and goes right to Preston Vance, and he has what looks to be a contract in his hand. And he says, look, Andrade wants to sign you to his family office. And Evil Uno says, look, I thought I told you we're not interested, and they refused the offer. Andrade showed up. He wanted to talk to Preston Vance. John Silver said the only thing he'll be speaking to is his fists. Thank you, Steve. At least Steve Mello cares. Preston Vance did not turn them down. The other Dark Order members did. Evil Uno did, but he did not. So we have some palace intrigue now, I guess, with the Dark Order. We had a video recap of the interim AEW women's title match from Sunday. Jamie Hayter was shown wheeling her luggage as she was leaving the building. She was wheeling it past Britt Baker, who was trying to get her to stop. Just talk to me. Jamie Hayter didn't want to have anything to do with her. She refused to talk to her. So there it is. There's the split, or at least the beginning of the split, between Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker. Run, don't walk, is what I say to Jamie Hayter. Get as far away from Britt Baker as you possibly can. We have the new interim AEW Women's Champion, Toni Storm, taking on Penelope Ford in what they said was a world title eliminator match. Storm knocked Ford down in the corner, set up for the hip attack. Penelope moved out of the way. Both women ended up on the floor, and Penelope sent her into the ring steps. Most of the match then happened during the commercial. Came back. Ford controlled the action. Toni made a comeback. She hit a strong forearm that dropped Ford in the corner. Penelope, I can't even talk. Penelope looked like she was trying for a Northern Lights suplex. At least I think that's what she was going for. Storm countered into an awkward looking DDT. This did not look good. She went for a DDT, didn't get all of it. got the pin anyway. Even though it looked like Penelope Ford was trying to get her, or not trying to, she got her shoulder up at the very end. Right at the very end, she got her shoulder up. This whole finish looked very awkward. It did not look good at all. The match itself was okay. Yeah, it was nothing special. It was a little showcase mostly for the new champion. But that finish was pretty bad. So after the match, we got a video package that set up Action Bronson and Hook. They're going to be doing something, probably a match, but they're going to be doing something with Matt Menard and Angelo Parker at Arthur Ashe Stadium. So I know you've all been waiting for Action Jackson. What's his fucking name? Action Bronson. What did I call him? Action Jackson? Action Jackson was a lot cooler than Action Bronson. So they're going to be doing something in New York in 2 weeks. Then we got the Acclaimed. Honestly, this was probably one of the moments I was most looking forward to on the show tonight. I wanted to see what reaction, live reaction, this would get when they hit their music in preparation for this rap. And the crowd did not disappoint. Everybody rose to their feet when they hit the music. They were ready for the mother of all Max Caster raps. He was teasing all day long that he was working on it. He got plenty of material to work with. And right before he was going to speak, they cut him off. Swerve Strickland came in, cut him off. And you knew, see, by this point in the show, the fact that MJF had nothing to say about Punk or the Elite, didn't mention any of those guys, coupled with all the stories we've heard about how everybody is tight-lipped, it's a legal issue now, I'm sure he couldn't say anything. I'm sure the edict went out. Nobody on the show tonight is to make reference to CM Punk, the Bucks, Kenny Omega, a fight, or anything like that, because now, the lawyers are involved. So how they got around this, I think, was kind of clever. He was about to rap, and then here comes Swerve Strickland. No Keith Lee, only Swerve Strickland. I guess Keith Lee wasn't at the building tonight. Swerve came out, and you have never seen Swerve Strickland get booed like this in his entire career. They showered this man in boos. They showered him in chants of asshole. He had a big smile. He was laughing at it. Like, he was soaking this up. He was a bigger heel in this building for cutting off Max Caster than MJF was for trashing Josh Allen at the beginning of the show. So he asked the crowd if they were here to hear more corny rap jokes, and they all cheered. Yes, that's in fact what they did come to see and to hear. Swerve said that he had a joke for them. The joke was the Acclaimed as the AEW Tag Team Champions. Billy Gunn cut him off and said that this was not Swerve's house and that the Acclaimed were going to take home the gold in New York City. So yes, they have made it official. They're going to run it back at Arthur Ashe Stadium in 2 weeks. It is going to be Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland defending the AEW Tag Team titles against the Acclaimed. Tony Khan all but confirmed it at the Scrum the other day. He's the one who brought up the possibility of doing a rematch. And Swerve and Keith Lee were like, hey, if that's what you want to do, we're down for it. And Tony Khan was like, oh, well, I'm just saying, I think that's a match most people would like to see. So you knew then. You knew then that they were going to make that match for Arthur Ashe. And it's exactly the right thing to do. Shout out to Lion O. Where's that cue? Lion O. Reminds me of the Thundercats. That's the match to do, and that's the place to do it. That's why it didn't bother me that they didn't change the titles at All Out. I know everybody's like, oh, they should call an audible. I said, no. All Out was the proof of concept. All Out proved how fucking over these guys are and how badly these fans want to see them become tag team champions. That's your proof of concept. Now you wait 3 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever it is. You go to New York City in front of an even bigger crowd. They're going to be so hyped up to see these guys walk out with those titles, and you do it in New York. If they don't put the titles on them in New York, Tony Khan's out of his mind. Out of his mind. That is the perfect place to do the title change. So that match is official. It is incredible how over the Acclaimed are. The fans have always liked them. They've been reacting more to them, but I mean, they are fucking mega over right now. And I said it earlier, I think they're even more over than FTR. And FTR is pretty damn over in this company, but the Acclaimed, you got to ride that wave, man. You don't know how long it's going to last for. Ride that wave, put those belts on them. They're a great young team that they've built up. They didn't come from somewhere else. They weren't handed to you. You gave them the chance. You built them up. You put those belts on them. Chris Jericho and Anna Jay were backstage with Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti for an interview with Tony Schiavone. Austin says, I just want to see a title change live. Hey, let me tell you something. I'm going to get a tag team title match in 2 weeks. And I'm gonna be there for the finals of the World Title Tournament, where I kind of expect MJF is going to walk out with that championship. I don't even think it matters who wins. Whether it's Danielson, Moxley, Darby, whoever wins the title that night, I think that's the night that MJF is going to cash in, but he said he can get a world title match anywhere, anytime. So I think he's going to probably end up walking out of there as the champion, regardless of who wins this tournament. So either way, I get to see a new champion crowned in the building that night. I picked the right show to go to. My first AEW show in a few years. I think I picked a good one. By the way, as you would imagine, I'll be at Arthur Ashe Stadium in 2 weeks. So there will be no Dynamite review on that Wednesday, but I will do a live review that Thursday with all my live in-person thoughts and perspectives on the show. It's a little programming note for 2 weeks from now. So the JAS was in the back, and Jericho said that they were better than ever. And he told the story of Ponce de Leon searching for the fountain of youth, but he said that he found it. He called himself the best sports entertainer ever. He said he would beat Bryan Danielson next week, and Sammy Guevara would beat Darby Allin on Friday. And I laughed. I said, this fucking guy just spoiled the result of the match that hasn't even happened yet between Danielson and Hangman. He just flat out said, next week, I'm going to beat Bryan Danielson. So he spoiled the result of the match. This had to be a live segment, I would imagine. If it was a pre-tape, they could have edited that shit out. But, dude, what are you doing? I wonder what Hangman thought about that. So Jericho called Sammy and Daniel Garcia his sons in the locker room and said Garcia was on his own. He was going to be on his own, all by himself, later on tonight in the main event against Wheeler Yuta. And when he mentioned Garcia's name, he got a pop. Garcia's from Buffalo. That's why they put him in the main event tonight, because he was in his hometown, so he was going to get the big hometown reaction. We had Wardlow out next to defend his TNT championship against Toni Nese. So here was another little faux pas, I think it was. As Wardlow is walking through the back, they have the gimmick now like Goldberg, where the camera is following him. So, he's fixing his straps, and he's about to walk up the steps to, like, what the gorilla position would be. And he looks at somebody off camera, and he just goes, where's my music? Like he's fucking Vampiro from all those years ago. Remember when Vampiro, he was at the announce desk? I don't know if it was a AAA show or what it was. And he was supposed to do a run-in. There was some big beatdown going on in the ring. And he was supposed to do a run-in and save this person. And and they won't play his music. So everybody is waiting for Vampiro to like get up and come in and save the day. And he's just sitting there. And finally he gets aggravated. He goes, where's my music? There's no music. He's shouting into the head. Matt Stryker's sitting right next to him. He's on the headset. Where's my fucking music? He's standing up. He can't go anywhere. He's just standing there. Where's my fucking music? Finally, they play his music. And he finally went into the ring. But I don't know. Wardlow wanted his music, apparently. He was talking to somebody off camera. We couldn't see who it was. So the match begins, and it wasn't much of one. There was a headbutt. We had the Powerbomb Symphony. I think 3 of them is what he gave Nese. And he made short work of Toni Nese. Was it Triple Mania? I thought it was. I thought it was Triple Mania. Where's my fucking music? He likes his music. Hey, I'm convinced that half these wrestlers wouldn't run down to the ring to save their own mother unless they played their music. We're close to 1,000 likes, by the way. We're only like 60 away. So hit that thumbs up. Get me to 1,000. I want 1K on this video here before I even finish this review. So after the match, Wardlow pulls Smart Mark Sterling over the top rope into the ring. He sets up to give him a power bomb. Josh Woods reaches in and makes the save. Wardlow asks for a microphone, and he says that he's been hearing a lot on the internet that Wardlow has lost momentum. Wardlow should do this. Wardlow should do that. He thanked his fans that have stuck with him since day one, and he says it's time to remind everybody that this is Wardlow's world. And he looked pissed off out there. A pissed off Wardlow is best for business, by the way. That's the right Wardlow. I like that he acknowledged what a lot of us have been saying really since Double or Nothing. I know I've been saying it since he beat MJF. His momentum has really died down. He's not going out there and getting crickets. I mean, people still like him. They react to him. But, boy, I mean, the bloom is off the rose the last few months with Wardlow. I mean, he was up here, and now he's kind of back down here. And I like the fact that they admitted it. They had him acknowledge it. I've heard the rumors. I've heard the talk on the internet. I think it's time I remind people who the hell I am. Simple mission statement, short to the point. And hopefully, now they'll put their money where their mouth is. And they'll try to heat Wardlow back up to where he was before. Because Wardlow is going to be one of those guys. He's still, a relatively young guy. AEW original guy. Who could be one of the flag bearers for this company. He could be a guy who steps into a position that a CM Punk used to be in, or a Hangman Page, and easily is a future world champion in this company. Right now, he's the TNT champion, and he should be featured more prominently on these shows. I'd love to see a Wardlow Powerhouse Hobbs feud for the TNT title. Looks like they're going to be heating up Hobbs and Wardlow. That's what I would do. We have Bryan Danielson against Hangman Adam Page, Part 3. Opening round match in the Tournament of Champions. I was thinking about Hangman and how Punk is missing, and Omega and the Bucks supposedly were suspended. All the elite guys. Nakazawa, by the way. Nakazawa, Brandon Cutler, because I guess they were in the locker room as well. So supposedly they're all suspended too. I just have this vision in my head of Brandon Cutler trying to spray CM Punk with that fucking cold spray in the eyes and shit. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe he sprayed Ace Steel with the cold spray, and Ace Steel couldn't see. So he just reached for a chair and flung it. Had no idea where it was going, and then it hit Nick Jackson in the eye. And then he kind of bumped into somebody and didn't know what it was, and he just kind of grabbed Omega's arm, and he took a chunk out of his arm. Maybe he had fucking cold spray that blinded him. Got to play some of that Benny Hinn music. Just visualize this in your head. It sounds like a fucking clown show. But what I was going to say is I was thinking about Hangman. And if Hangman had not left the arena when he did, because when all of this happened, the reason Hangman Page was not part of any of this, he had already left the building. If he had not already left the building, there's not a doubt in my mind he wouldn't be on the show tonight either, because he would be one of the suspended parties. So leaving early is probably what saved him from a suspension, because I have no doubt he would have been right there to confront CM Punk with his buddies had he not already left the building. But he was on the show tonight because he had nothing to do with it. He really didn't. He had nothing to do with anything that happened there. So William Regal joined on commentary. William Regal is doing this weird thing. I mean, God bless Regal. I love Regal, but he's getting a little weird. So every time he comes out on commentary and he sits with Excalibur, he's been making these weird, very sexual comments about him. Tonight, he greeted Excalibur. Of course, he always greets him the same way. Man in the mask. Good to see you, man in the mask, right? So tonight he goes, man with the mask. You lovely little buttercup. I'd like to pick up your petals and rub them all over me. What? And then Taz is always like, what? What did you say? And then Regal says, oh, I'm English. I can get away with it. I saw, hey, 2 years ago when all that speaking out movement stuff came, I saw the number of British wrestlers that were accused, that were on those lists. Oh, I think they all think they can get away with shit like that. But we love Regal. We love Regal. And Regal loves Excalibur. Maybe a little too much, but he also loves Excalibur. So there were some boos for the Hangman here in this match. Nothing overwhelming, but it was definitely audible at different points in the match. He was getting boos. Hangman took control. He landed a Death Valley driver. Danielson fired back with some drop kicks in the corner. On the third attempt, Hangman attempted a pop-up powerbomb, but Danielson reversed into a head scissors takeover. And both men fought up to the top rope. And Page pulled Danielson back into the ring with a flipping slam. He set up for a buckshot lariat, but Danielson rolled out of the ring to avoid the move. Hangman hit a sit-out powerbomb for a close near fall. And he placed Danielson on the top rope, climbed up to meet him up there. Danielson slipped out, hung him in the Tree of Woe, hit a basement drop kick, and pulled Hangman back up to a seated position. And Danielson tried for an avalanche back suplex, but Hangman landed on his feet. He followed up with a lariat. Danielson pulled Hangman into position for the LeBell Lock, but Hangman escaped. Bryan landed a butterfly suplex and quickly transitioned from an armbar back into the LeBell Lock. And Page got out of it again. Bryan attempted what looked to be a sunset flip, but Hangman countered into a deadeye for a close near fall. It just dropped him straight down on top of his head. Hangman climbed up top, went for a moonsault, but Danielson moved, and he hit the flying knee. Hangman landed near the ropes, though, so he was able to roll outside. Bryan attempted to dive at Hangman at ringside, but Hangman caught him and kind of popped him up on his shoulders into a powerbomb position and then slammed him on the ring apron, rolled him back inside, and here we go. Hangman Page is on the apron. He's setting up for the buckshot lariat, and he springboards himself in, but Danielson avoids it, and he rolls up Hangman with an O'Connor roll into a bridge and pins him to advance in the tournament. They went about 23 minutes, so I think they went through 3 breaks, so they gave them a lot of time, and this was another excellent match in a trio of excellent matches that these two have had going back to, I guess it was late last year. It was a Winter is Coming, I think, when they had their Iron Man match. Was it? I think it was Winter is Coming, and then maybe it was the first TBS Dynamite, the first Dynamite of this year. I believe that was their second match. So this was their third. Danielson finally gets a win over Hangman. It's too bad Jericho spoiled the result earlier, but I figured Danielson was winning this anyway. And let me just address this, because I was already seeing it in the live chat even before I went live. I saw some people saying, oh, this is a punishment for Hangman. This is a punishment for Hangman Page. He didn't get suspended because he wasn't in the fight, but they're burying him. And again, people throw that fucking word around so much, it makes me just, I want to beat them over the head with a hammer. Oh, he's buried. Someone loses one match. Oh my God, they're buried. Hangman Page lost a competitive 20-minute match to Bryan Danielson, one of the best in the world. Oh, he's buried. Hangman Page is not buried. He was buried after what CM Punk said about him the other fucking day. CM Punk buried him. Tony Khan did not bury Hangman Page. They had a competitive match that could have gone either way. Both men ended up coming out of this match looking perfectly fine. This was not a burial. And the idea that this was a punishment for Hangman going into business for himself in that promo before Double or Nothing. I got news for you. If Tony Khan was going to punish Hangman Page for that, he would have punished him 3 months ago. He is not going to punish him for a line in a promo in May by having him lose in September. I don't know where people pull this out of. I don't know what fucking orifice they pull this kind of shit out of. Can we please put this to bed? This was not a punishment. I don't know how you can watch this match and think that because he lost, this is some kind of punishment. Let alone a punishment for a line in a promo that apparently Tony Khan had no issue with, or else he would have done something about it 3 months ago, and he didn't. So even if Tony Khan now doesn't like it, now has an issue with it, well, guess what? It was up to him to do something about it 3 months ago, and he didn't. Now it's old news until CM Punk brought it up again, but now it's old news. This was not a punishment. Stop looking for stuff where it doesn't exist. Stop trying to create controversy where it doesn't exist. We have enough controversy to last us the rest of the year. We don't need more. This was a great match. It now sets up a rematch from All Out. next week with Danielson going over this time. Jericho won the first match, and now Danielson can get his win back, and he can win the second match. We had Jungle Boy in a pre-taped promo saying that he was far from done with Christian Cage, and once Christian was back from his surgery for his what is unfortunately a legitimate injury, and I don't think they've officially said what the injury is. He came out with a brace on his arm at the pay-per-view, but at first I just thought that was to sell the injury that Jungle Boy had gone after the arm on TV. So it may or may not be an arm injury, but he does have what was said to be a serious injury. And Christian's up there. He's probably 47, 48 years old, so any injury at that age is going to be considered a serious injury, especially if there's surgery involved. He could be gone for a very long time, which sucks because that was one of the matches I was actually looking forward to most at All Out. And the good thing, I guess, is that because Luchasaurus turned on Jungle Boy, even if Christian has to be gone for months, they can still do stuff with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. And he talked about him as well in this promo. He said he called him an anchor around his feet for the last 3 years, and maybe he's better off not, having him kind of holding him down and holding him back. He showed good fire here in this promo. I think these pre-tape segments are for the best right now, as opposed to just sending him out there in front of the live crowd. But, his promos have improved from where they were a year ago. I mean, it's a noticeable improvement. When he gets all worked up and he shows fire the way he did here, that's when he's at his best. Stokely Hathaway came out on stage with his crew. He's got W. Morrissey with him. He's got Lee Moriarty. He's got Ethan Page. So he's out there, and he says everybody wants an explanation for what he did it all out when he handed the poker chip to MJF in the casino ladder match. Somebody walked in from off screen, though, before he could say anything and told Stokely that they did not have time. They were running short on time. They had to, go home, wrap it up, basically. And Stokely told him that when he has a microphone, he is owed the same respect as that man's father would be. And Stokely's crew helped him beat the guy up. It ended with Morrissey giving the guy a big boot. So we never did get any kind of explanation. We still don't know what the relationship is, if any, between Stokely's group and MJF. Stokely and MJF are very good friends in real life. Stokely actually managed MJF as part of an old faction called the Dream Team in Beyond Wrestling many years ago. So there's a history there between them. But you watch the show tonight, you would never know. You would never know that one had anything to do with the other. And then the main event. Wheeler Yuta defending the Ring of Honor Pure Championship against Daniel Garcia. Main event, Garcia strikes again. How many times have we talked about this? This kid, I think he's 25 years old, is Garcia, and he has had more main events than some main eventers have had in this company. So, of course, they were in his hometown. That's why. They were in Buffalo, and Buffalo's own West Side Gun sang Garcia to the ring like it was a WrestleMania. For Garcia, it was. For him, this was his WrestleMania tonight. He got a hero's welcome. Yuta ate a German suplex from the middle rope about midway through this match. He took a German suplex from the middle rope and got folded up. It looked like he broke his fucking neck. The way he landed was awful. It looked awful. Back from the break, the two of them had a stiff slap fight that ended with a kick to the head. Yuta was down on his back. Garcia told the referee to count him out. And Yuta barely made it back to his feet by the count of 8. Again, they were going by pure rule. I'm not even sure exactly what all the rules are in these pure wrestling matches. Garcia locked on what he calls the Dragon Tamer, which is kind of a variation of a sharpshooter, but he really wrenches back on it. He had beaten Bryan Danielson with it many weeks ago on TV. So that's why he calls it the Dragon Tamer. Yuta got to the ropes and then got a warning for using a closed fist. Again, this was pure rules in this match. Garcia, though, got him back in the Dragon Tamer. Yuta transitioned out of it into a crossface. And Yuta got the seatbelt pin that he has been using to beat a whole bunch of people, but Garcia kicked out. And Garcia got the Dragon Tamer back on for a third time. And this time he wrenched all the way back. I mean, he was leaning as far back as he possibly could. And he held on. Yuta held on for a while, but he had no choice but to tap out. Big pop for Daniel Garcia going over and winning the Ring of Honor Pure Championship here in his hometown. And he did it without the help of the Jericho Appreciation Society. There was nobody out there to interfere on his behalf or help him in any way. I thought this was a perfectly fine pro wrestling match, even if I know other people are not exactly all that familiar with the pure rules stuff. It was a good match. They dropped red confetti from the ceiling. All of a sudden, here comes Bryan Danielson. He walks down to the ring. He gets inside, and he tells Yuta, shake the man's hand. Got to adhere to the code of honor. So they shake hands. Danielson grabbed the pure title, and he personally strapped it around the waist of Daniel Garcia. Here comes Chris Jericho out from the back, and he has a look on his face like he just remembered, oh shit, I left the stove on at home before I left. Like he could not believe what he was seeing here. And so the custody battle continues. I'm thinking Garcia may be the deciding factor next week when Danielson beats Jericho in the tournament, but we'll see. That ended what I thought was a very good episode of Dynamite. It got things back on the tracks. It provided some stability. You know, they made a decision about the titles. Here's what we're going to do. We're just going to crown new champions tonight with the trios belts. We're not going to do 2 tournaments at once. So they crown new trios belts or new trios champions tonight. And they have a tournament now with some big names in it. So they can use that now. They'll have some big matches next week on TV they can promote. And then the Arthur Ashe show in 2 weeks, they're going to blow that shit up as big as they possibly can. We already know the Acclaimed are going to get their tag team title rematch. And we are guaranteed to have a new AEW World Champion crowned in 2 weeks. Whether it's, well, I mean, it's going to be one of these guys in the tournament. But again, I still feel like MJF is going to walk out of New York as the World Champion. That's my early prediction. Rampage on Friday night has Claudio Castagnoli defending the Ring of Honor World title against Dax Harwood of FTR. Darby Allin takes on Sammy Guevara in a match in the World title tournament. And Serena Deeb goes one-on-one with Madison Rayne. Toni Storm mentioned her. She singled out Serena Deeb in the media scrum. I know it was kind of lost in all the other bullshit that went on. And everybody was also saying, oh, Toni Storm was shooting on Thunder Rosa, and she was kind of inferring that her injury wasn't real. I watched what she said. It's, again, all bullshit. All bullshit. People took that one comment and blew it up to make it something it wasn't. It was her in working mode. All she said was, Thunder Rosa is hurt. When she's no longer hurt and she comes back, I'll kick her ass. Everybody was looking for a controversy somewhere in everything that people were saying on Sunday night. That was the least controversial comment I think that was made in that entire media scrum. But somebody asked her, who do you want to step into the ring with? And she was kind of having trouble thinking of a name. And then somebody mentioned Serena, and she's like, oh my God, of course, yes, how could I forget? I definitely want to work with Serena Deeb. It looks like she might get her chance. So if they're going to build up Serena, I have to imagine they're building her up for Toni Storm. And then on Dynamite next week, Danielson against Jericho, and Jon Moxley will meet the winner of the Sammy Guevara-Darby Allin match this Friday. So that's coming up next week. I have a feeling we're going to have to cover Rampage this week. I know I ditched it last week. We just did SmackDown, but I think given some of the matches on the card this week, even if it's not live, we may have to cover SmackDown and Rampage on Friday. Let's take a look at the Twitter poll. Almost 2,000 votes already in less than 2 hours, and this is already a better score than what Dynamite got the last couple of weeks. Dynamite has seen some of the lowest scores in these polls in all the years I've been doing them. And this is a nice rebound here. About 75% thumbs up, 15% thumbs in the middle, and 10% thumbs down. So again, at Solomonster, I know you can't see it there, but at Solomonster, follow me on Twitter. It's a good thing to do anyway. But you can vote in all these polls when I put them up on Twitter. That is the place to go. So I know you guys are commenting on all this stuff. Let's dive right into it. Let's not waste any time here. I'm going to read your super chats. You have questions, you have comments, anything like that, get them on in. We We will hang out here. Yeah, I mean, Mr. Dynamite, it's a rebound from what they've been doing. It's a better score. I mean, Dynamite was doing 80% plus for the longest time. So even 75 is less than what they had been doing, but 75 is better than what the score. I don't even remember what it was last week. It was pretty bad. It's maybe 50, 52 last week. So it's definitely an improvement. I could tell we got a lot of messages here. Quizzical One, who I think is still with us in the chat. Quizzical One. CM Punk, Chicago's greatest self-immolation since 1871. Tuxedo T Servo, one interesting thing I learned from the all-in scrum. He means all out. Even an enraged CM Punk has nothing bad to say about Adam Cole. Nobody does. Nobody does. One and only. I sound like Ricochet's music. And just like that, Vacant is champion once again. You know, Vacant is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's always there. He's always lurking in the shadows where you least expect him. You never know where he might pop up. Lakers Pats, replace Rampage with AEW Love and Hip Hop. One and only. If any good comes out of these suspensions, it's that maybe guys like Darby, Danielson, Adam Cole, Sammy Guevara will get pushed in the main event scene. Boots, since Brandon Cutler tends to follow the Bucks with a camera for the vlogs, I wonder if there is any footage of the altercation. I don't think we're going to be seeing that. That footage is in the hands of the authorities. Shinakuma, is this a reason why we have scripted promos in WWE? No free mic, meaning you don't have to worry about no one going off the deep end. That's not why. Although that is something that I guess protects WWE when they script everything out, but that's not why they started doing it. Big Armada 1988, sounds like Moxley and Jericho are stepping up to be the locker room leaders, judging on their promos tonight. Judging on their promos and everything else that's being reported, they've taken a real, especially Jericho's taken a real leadership role. Hyru, Jericho burying Hangman in his promo, saying his next opponent is Danielson before Page and Danielson wrestle. Flamethrower, Fluff Salisbury, Chris Jericho, it wasn't a prediction, it was a spoiler. Food Hive, main event Garcia strikes again. Yes, indeed. JD from Texas with the $2 super chat. Buy or sell. Boy, we got one in each state. Kaiser roll or floundering Bobby Fish. I prefer the Kaiser roll joke. It's some of my greatest work. Joseph Brooks, buy or sell on who had the better rookie year for their companies, Brock Lesnar or Goldberg? I mean, how can you vote against Goldberg? Goldberg, in less than a year, went from somebody that nobody knew, nobody in wrestling knew, to beating Hulk Hogan, pinning Hulk Hogan in the main event of the Georgia Dome show in front of 40,000 people to become the World Heavyweight Champion. Hulk Hogan, at that point, you know, you take Austin, but Hogan was, I mean, the biggest star in the history of American professional wrestling at that point. Bill Goldberg just pinned Hulk Hogan in the main event to become the world champion and seemingly defeat the NWO, even though the NWO kept going. I would probably go with Goldberg. I mean, I know Brock accomplished a lot, and he beat a lot of guys. Brock beat Flair, he beat Hogan, he beat Rock. But I almost think that singular moment in the Georgia Dome trumps all of it as far as like a rookie year. It just goes to show you how fast he rose and then how fast he flamed out after that. He never reached those heights again in WCW. Food Hive, though, thank you for your super chat. JD from Texas, thank you for yours. Food Hive with the double here. One and only, and here I was excited to maybe one day see Omega versus Punk. Guess I should have been backstage. Love the show. Thank you, brother. M. Sund with the 389 super chat theory. Larry bit Omega and Ace is taking the blame so Larry doesn't get put down. It's horrible. so Larry doesn't get put to sleep. Jesus Christ. That's awful. I shouldn't laugh. That's terrible. Mexi Wolf 009. Jon Moxley is truly the ace of AEW, the man that you can truly count on. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Brewmakian Productions, WrestleMania at Michigan Stadium. What do you think? I mean, it's something different. It would be nice to try out a different location that they haven't been to before. I guess that would be one. I wouldn't be there. I'd prefer they go somewhere else. I'd prefer they go back to Vegas. Vegas or New Orleans. Those are the only two repeat places that are acceptable. That I would accept. Otherwise, they should pick some place new to go. Hey, Tamara, one of our wrenches in the chat. Tamara had a chat here. She's been a channel member, by the way, for 17 months. 17 months. Tamara, that's the longest relationship I've ever had. You and me for 17 months. Look at this. Says AJ Lee kind of alluded that she was scared this would happen when she was asked about Punk's return to wrestling. I guess it was inevitable. Is that what she said? So she knew. She knew that this guy is bad news. She tried to warn all of us. Zohawk Gaming loves CM Punk, but damn, he is going to go down as the worst AEW champion. Justin Jack to the Solomonster from me and my mother. Thank you, Justin Jack. Appreciate that. Binder Singh, what a great time to be a wrestling fan. Treehouse 2022. Thank you for the $2. Rizzo. That's the only thing I did not like about what Tony Khan did. I think he should have brought it up for the people who were smart enough to stay off social media. Time for Punk to go away. It is indeed time for CM Punk to go away. The Sky Genie channel. This super chat is for CM Punk's anger management fund. I have no idea on how to give this to him, so I gave it to you instead. Well, I promise you I'll make sure he gets it. Epsilon Sama, let's hope the Elite are stripped of their EVPs. I think they should be. I just don't know the nature of their contracts. I don't know legally if Tony Khan can even do that or what kind of problems that would cause, but they should not be EVPs. I think it's just one of those conflicts that I'm sure a lot of people saw that at the very beginning and said, oh, you know, this is going to be a problem, and now it is. So if Tony has a way, I think he should go ahead and do it. Christopher Smith, Death Triangle are trios champions. Danielson for AEW champion. MJF is great. The Acclaimed are over like Rover. And of course, Scissor Me Daddy and Hater. Matt Gruber, the Elite need to be fired as EVPs. Epsilon Sama, CM Punk is a victim in all of this. So Epsilon Sama says that CM Punk is a victim. Well, CM Punk is a victim if people are going behind his back and spreading lies about him, then you can say that he's a victim. CM Punk is not an innocent victim. CM Punk is not somebody to have a whole lot of sympathy for after the way that he conducted himself on Sunday. Whatever sympathy I may have had for CM Punk went out the window based on what he did and the way he acted on Sunday. And again, I know people are going to be like, oh, this has been a long time coming. The Elite guys, they deserved it. You know, they had it coming. They're troublemakers. They're talking shit behind Punk's back, which may or may not be true. And I know a lot of people feel that way, but it doesn't change the fact that CM Punk embarrassed the company and caused this entire mess to go down the way that it did. There was a different way to handle it. He chose to handle it his way. People like it when he speaks his mind. Let him speak his mind in private. If he's that angry and upset about that, the time to do it is not when you are coming off this pay-per-view. Your boss is sitting next to you, and the intent is that you're going to talk about this match you just had, the show you just had, and how now with MJF being back, we're heading into a pretty interesting, pretty exciting fall season. All of that got blown up. Nobody was even talking about MJF when the show was over. Completely overshadowed the end of that pay-per-view, which should have been what had everybody talking. People were waiting months to see MJF come back, and when that night was over, it wasn't about him. He was an afterthought. The Bucks didn't do that. Hangman didn't do that. CM Punk did that. Colt Cabana didn't do it. So enough with the whole CM Punk is, oh, woe is me, CM Punk is the victim in all this. He may have been victimized in some ways, but that went out the window when he acted like a fucking idiot on Sunday. Quintus Brown, very good show tonight. What's next for Page? Maybe a feud with Wardlow for the TNT title to give Wardlow more credibility and more over. What are your thoughts? I mean, he just lost to Bryan Danielson. I don't see Tony Khan having him lose to Wardlow. I think they would want him to win a little bit, but building him up for a program with Wardlow, I'd be okay with that, but you have to give him some wins first. You can't just launch him right into a TNT title fight. We've got Petroid 11. CM Punk, I was born with glass bones and paper skin and a balsa wood ego. It's like Jon Moxley said on TV a few weeks ago. Fragile mind, fragile body, fragile ego. First timer. I loved it when MJF returned it all out and pointed at the AEW title that was sitting in an empty ring. Well, John Cena was holding it. Epsilon Sama, the Elite are to blame for all that is happening. They are not to blame for all that is happening. You can't put 100% of the blame on the Elite. That's just, I mean, that's just, you don't like the Elite, that's fine. You can just say you don't like the Elite. To say that the Elite are 100% responsible for everything that happened is ignoring the facts. I don't know what's so hard to understand about that. So CM Punk is completely blameless in all of this. That's what you're saying. CM Punk, he bears no blame. He bears no responsibility for what happened. Well, that's certainly a position to take. Joseph Brooks is Moxley AEW's Undertaker, meaning as a leader. No, I mean, he doesn't go out there and have wrestlers court and have people gifting him bottles of Jack Daniels, so. Jon Moxley is Jon Moxley. I would not compare Jon Moxley to anybody else. Bobby's World 2110. Triple H has to be having a good laugh at Punk's expense, and Moxley is the Iron Man in AEW, just like he was in WWE. Yeah, you know, I think one of the things I think that Sean Ross Sapp, he answered a question, and I think he said that it's always a possibility that if Punk were fired, if he left, that maybe he and Triple H could work something out. He can go back to WWE. Let me just say this. It'll be a cold day in hell before we ever see CM Punk back in WWE. And that goes for both sides. Both sides are not fond of each other. I know Triple H, he got Bruno Sammartino to come back. He got the Ultimate Warrior to come back. If he wanted to do what was best for business, would he be willing to put certain feelings aside and negotiate with CM Punk? Maybe there's a world where he might be willing to do that, but it's unlikely. But CM Punk ain't going back to WWE. It'll be a cold day in hell before that ever happens. Before CM Punk goes back to a Triple H and Stephanie led WWE. I know in wrestling they say never say never. I'm going to say never. That is never going to happen. If CM Punk does leave, if he gets fired, if he resigns, if he steps away, he's done. I think his wrestling days are over. Slipper House, extra, $4.99 super chat. Laughing my ass off at the background. The black eye on Jackson and Omega's head bulge is fantastic. Should have included a bite mark. Steve, see? You should have included bite marks on his head. Thank you, Slipperhouse. Christopher Smith, props to Moxley, Jericho, and Danielson tonight. They showed leadership and stepped up for the locker room while showcasing vets and younger. Very good show. The Sky Genie Channel, Jon Moxley is the greatest AEW World Champion in the small history of AEW. Even the haters of Moxley cannot dispute this fact. You get no argument out of me. Anderson Blitz, as someone who my family and I will be at Grand Slam, the announcements are great, but my family is upset how they paid money for stars who will not be there. I think you're going to get a great show regardless. Epsilon Sama, the EVPs broke in Punk's room to mess with Punk. I'm starting to think that CM Punk has hacked into Epsilon Sama's account and is sending $2 super chats in to plead his case. So Steve says that there is a bite mark on Kenny's forehead. Let me see. Is there? Is there? I see, I didn't even notice it. I see a giant lump. I see the lump. I didn't even see the bite mark. You got to make it more visible. I do like the black eye though, even though the black eye should be on Nick Jackson, but that's okay. Actually, I've heard conflicting things. I've heard both of them had black eyes, but the black eye is actually very well done. It looks seamless. It looks real. It looks natural. Anyway, back to your super chats. Who'd we leave off with? We left off with Magician Sapphire. Magician Sapphire with the $10 super chat. Stripping Punk and the Elite of titles and suspending them was the right call. Time for Tony Khan to be a leader and start right the ship and fixing all of the problems, i.e. the lack of structure in the AEW. Thank you, Bret Hart. I agree. He needs to fix the problems in the AEW. King with the $5 super chat with Vacant's 75th World Championship run. Where do you see him ranked as the greatest of all time? Just kidding. Love the streams and you are doing the Lord's work. This has been a very, very busy week. Yeah. Andre in the chat says that bite mark was an infection. That was a pretty big lump. You know, if that's a bite mark, I think that thing is infected. He's going to have fucking pus shooting out of it soon. He's going to look like CM Punk when he had a staph infection. Dominican Lou. Solomonster. Thank you for all these streams this week. Higher or lower? Tony Khan had to do at least 6 takes of that pre-tape. You could see if you watched him as he was reading, you could see his eyes darting around. And I thought he did fine. Rodimus Prime, it's funny how the morale in both companies has changed in just a couple of months. All things in WWE are good so far, while AEW unfortunately looks like the biggest laughingstock right now. Bernard Frederick with the $10 super chat. We had a disagreement on who should dethrone Roman Reigns on my last super chat, but I totally agree with what you said about CM Punk on the top of the stream. Punk is no leader in my eyes. He's not. You know, you've heard the expression, do as I say, not as I do. But in this situation, that doesn't really work. And if you fancy yourself a leader, I don't know, maybe he doesn't. But it's again, one of those things where I look at what he did on Sunday. And I also look at it from the perspective of CM Punk was a major acquisition for this company, and he's a big name. And you would think that you could look to somebody like that as something of a leader in this company, and he completely just demolished any chance of that based on what he did on Sunday. I don't see how anybody could look at him as leading anything after what he did. I mean, it was just complete embarrassment. D. James, what should be done about Punk? Tell him and Ace Steel UPS is hiring and send them on their way. I've made it pretty clear what I think should happen with Punk. Christopher Smith, I think Punk either gets suspended, leaves for surgery, then time added. After the surgery and suspension, fire him. Well, that's the one thing. If he did get hurt and it's a serious injury and he needs surgery, Tony Khan might not want to fire him because that might look bad. That may end up being the thing that saves him. I don't know. If there is an actual injury. Athletic Geek 89. Would MJF cash in on the tournament winner? Would that be good or too cliche? No, I think there's a very good chance that that's how Grand Slam's going to end. J-Rod with the $20 super chat drop. Thank you, J-Rod. Says Ace Steel fired in criminal charges. CM Punk 90-day suspension and 6-figure fine. Never touches the world title again. Matt, Nick, and Kenny 60-day suspension, 30 days no contact, followed by 30 days off TV in executive roles only. Anti-M Bishop 07, Evening Solomonster. The last thing I'll say about the Scrum Brawl. Everything is possible, but nothing is real. Type, living color, all the best. Morgan Drew, 8-on-2 in Punk's room. I mean, that's what you think. I mean, that's your opinion. I heard all the other people involved were simply trying to break things up. It wasn't like a fucking gang attack. You make it sound like it was like a gangland style attack. Like they're gonna do a fucking drive-by or something by his locker and fucking spray it with bullets. That's why they're investigating, to find out exactly what happened, who started what. Nobody knows for sure. Sean D, so did you get the Lego back? Oh, when I bit the kid? No, I got in trouble. They sent me home. Slipper House Extra Extra, Solomonster vs. Ace Steel in a first blood match. Yeah, only if you put one of those fucking Hannibal Lecter masks on him first. Samoan Fan 101, I don't feel like getting my rabies shots. Samoan Fan 101, how did your parents punish you after the bite? I love it. Like it's a big event. The bite. I don't know, because it wasn't the first time I did that. I think my mother was very unhappy, but I grew out of it. I stopped biting after a while. Rizzo, when you told the story about you biting someone, I laughed so hard I woke up my cats, and now they don't like me. We'll just bite them back. Winston Smith, Solomonster is the Iron Man of podcasting. Thank you, sir. The bite of 87. The bite of 87. Probably was around 87, actually. 80. Yeah, probably 87, 88. J-Rod. Furthermore, fines for speaking to press outside media scrums and without permission from Tony Khan. Will Hustle 25. I think it's time Tony Khan moves on from CM Punk and gives him his walking papers. Punk has passed his prime years, and he is not worth the headache. Anderson Blitz, AEW Backstage Assault coming in 2023. This would be a hell of a storyline for their new video game. Although Kenny Omega is the one helping out with the game, so he might be a little biased as far as how they tell that story. If they put that in the game. Beowulf, I think, has the chat. That's the chat of the night right there. AEW Bite Forever. Fucking love it. There's still time to change the name of the game. AEW Bite Forever. Solomonster for EVP. Hey, I'll drop the fucking hammer. You want to make me an EVP? I'll lay down the law. Rooster Loving Man, EVP should be stripped of their executive titles. Punk should be suspended or fired depending on how well this can get smoothed over. Lone Wolf, Ace Steel's wife should have been dog sitting him instead of Larry. I think that's the second best chat I've seen all night. Ace Steel's wife should have been dog sitting him instead of Larry. That's fucking great. Well, you guys are on a roll here tonight. Athletic Geek, if the Elite do happen to get fired, do you think that they would go to WWE and be used well? Do you think Hangman would join them when his contract is up? I don't think anybody is going to WWE. Let me just say that first. I don't think anybody is going anywhere anytime soon. And CM Punk is never going back to WWE. Maybe for a Hall of Fame induction in like 10 or 15 years, but he's not going to WWE. If the Elite were to be fired, let's just say hypothetically the Elite get fired, right? Or they leave the company. Do I think that Triple H would bring them in? Of course. Triple H tried to get them once before, and they complimented him. They said, Triple H treated us great. We have nothing negative to say about him. I think that if push came to shove, the Elite guys would absolutely end up in WWE. Triple H would welcome them with open arms. Omega and the Bucks. Hangman, of course. Absolutely. Punk's the only one who... Absolutely not. I cannot see him going back there. Game Mode Retro. If Punk is out, who do you want to see MJF defeat to win the championship? You know, that's what sucks the most about this whole thing. I've been talking for months about how the only person that MJF should be beating to become champion is CM Punk, and then he goes and fucks it all up. And now, honestly, I think you just got to move on from that. I think there's a very good chance he's going to take it from the winner of the tournament the night of the finals. So if you tell the underdog story and have Darby win his first title and then MJF immediately fucks him over for it, maybe then you can eventually, somewhere way down the road, get back to Darby and MJF with Darby finally winning the belt. There's a history there. Darby and MJF had an excellent opening match at the Full Gear pay-per-view last year. And at the time I said, this is going to be a main event on a pay-per-view in the future. These two guys are two of the pillars of this company. So maybe they have Darby as kind of the underdog go all the way to the finals, and he beats Danielson maybe in the finals. But then MJF comes out and wins the championship. He wants his shot right here in New York, and he wins. So it could be Darby. Bobby's World 2110. We need a mock movie poster of AEW Civil War. Punk, Steel, Steel's wife, and Larry on one side, the Elite and Hangman on the other, with Toni in the background with that panicked face. Paolo, the $10 super chat. CM Punk, fined and 3 months suspension. Young Bucks and Omega fined, 3 months suspension, and EVP title stripped. As EVPs, they should have de-escalated rather than get emotional and add fuel to the fire. That I agree. That's why I said I'm not absolving them of any responsibility. As Punk should have known better than to behave like a child. They are EVPs in the company. They're not just talent. They have a responsibility to set an example for the rest of the roster. Even though Punk said, hey, come find me face to face, they should have been like, you know what? He's not in a good frame of mind right now, so maybe tonight is not the night to go fuck with this guy. But we'll work this out when we get to the building on Wednesday. We'll go find him. We'll try to talk this out. You're right. As EVPs, that was also a very stupid move on their part and something that they should have thought better of. But now you're getting into like who instigated a physical fist fight, and chairs are being thrown, people are being bit, who threw the first punch. If Punk is the one responsible for that, again, he's got to go. That's it. I don't know what's so hard for people to understand about this. I said this when I did my other video. Tony Khan has to make an example out of some of these people and really show that you're not going to get preferential treatment. Dr. Dakota Scorpio, in 1 year, Punk went from all in to all out. Very grim. Fontel, who is more toxic, CM Punk or 90s Shawn Michaels? I think CM Punk is just naturally more toxic because it's not the drugs, right? He's drug-free. Shawn Michaels, at least, you can say this guy was all pilled up and fucked up all the time, so he wasn't himself. He wasn't, although he probably was a dick anyway, but I think Shawn Michaels had some chemical help to be as much of an asshole as he was. Christopher Smith, Triple H was right about Punk in 2011. Groovy Goose, CM Punk's actions disappoint millions of AEW fans and his fellow wrestlers. We will have a future tournament to crown the new AEW World Championship. Bread Hart with the $5 super chat. I will always have a soft spot for Punk for making me fall in love with wrestling again back in 2009. However, I think he should be fired and the Elite should be stripped of their EVP positions. I don't disagree. Skull Dipper with the $50 super chat. Is that the bratty Solomonster? I thought I heard that earlier. Skull Dipper, you magnificent bastard. Thank you for the 50. Says, I hate to say this since I'm a Punk fan, but he either needs to be sent to anger management or needs to be released, and the Elite should have to make the choice of being EVPs or talent and handle themselves as EVPs if they choose to keep the position. Well said. That's very well said. Midwest Outsider 707. Tama Tonga was right about the Elite a couple of years ago. They throw stones and then hide their hands. Hashtag snakes in the grass. James Cooper with the 1999 AEW can enjoy losing 200,000 viewers every time the EVPs come to TV. So much for an alternative anymore. Bucks and Omega should be fired. EVP should be held to a higher standard than anyone. D. James, poor old JR though. You would think he would be done with off-the-rail media scrums after the Ric Flair shit, and then this happens. Was Jim Ross not on the show tonight? I don't. Now that I think about it, I don't think Jim Ross was on the show tonight. Scott Hall, glad to see this streaming tonight. Thank you, Scott. And thank you, Tamara. Dropping the hammer. Groovy Goose, Punk overreacted. Paige's promo in question made Paige look like a fool. There were better ways for everybody to resolve this, as you said, communication. Communication is key. James Cooper, with the $9.99, storming into a locker room 3-on-1. Yes, real big EVPs. Anyone that says Punk should be fired should share the same view on the EVPs. Executives do not behave that way, even if they are mad over words. Darth Panic, which is worse, the Montreal Screwjob or the Media Scrum Meltdown? The Media Scrum Meltdown will have no positive benefits for AEW. It makes the company look bad in every way. It takes away some of their biggest stars. It's a big black eye for the company. The Montreal Screwjob was also it was a black eye for, well, literally a black eye for Vince McMahon. But it did lead to this period of prosperity for the company and a Vince McMahon heel character that just skyrocketed them for a period of years. I mean, there were benefits for the company in the Montreal Screwjob. I don't see what the benefit is in this for AEW. I don't see it. So, I mean, there's your answer. Manny Rivera, Sports Illustrated, reported the Bucks, Omega, Pat Buck, and Nakazawa kicked open the door and began the fight. Now, was that a specific detail as far as kicking the door open? Because again, I've heard conflicting things about whether the door was kicked open, the door was already open, and they stormed in. I mean, there's so many conflicting things about how the whole thing actually began. But again, look, if it comes out, and maybe it won't ever come out, but if it comes out that the Bucks started getting physical first, or the Bucks were in fact threatening them in some way, then I would hold the Bucks to the same standard. And that goes beyond just stripping them of their EVP status. You may need to get rid of them too. We're still learning new things every day. I'm just looking at Punk and how I would have gotten rid of him just for what he did at the Scrum. Even without the fight. If this were my company, that would have been it. As more details come out about the Elite and the Bucks and what they may or may not have done, I might feel the same way about them. But to me, it really boils down more to who threw that first punch. Who really started that whole fight that led to everything just degenerating in the way that it did. A lot of the reports I see say Punk Punk was the first one, but again, we don't have all the details on who started what yet. The Marvel Maniac. I know this is the least of our concerns as AEW fans overall, but what does all of this drama mean for AEW's first big video game, Fight Forever? Well, I mean, look, if they end up getting rid of some people, they're going to have to make some changes to the roster. Could delay the game. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, Punk is on the cover of the game, I think. So, look, I understand if Tony Khan doesn't want to get rid of him. He's got other considerations in here, the video game, sponsors. I mean, there could be other considerations he has to make, but I'm glad I'm not in his shoes having to deal with all this shit. Tony Rosa, AEW needs Punk, quote unquote. Ironically, if he stays and they leave, I'll stop watching myself. That being said, this showed the Elite cannot handle being EVPs either. Ed Weber says the Media Scrum minigame is going to be wild in Fight Forever. Angelo Bellota. All I want for once is a one-night tournament. AEW seems like the perfect company to do one. The one-night tournament can build such a strong story. Yeah, but when you have weekly television, I can understand them wanting to spread it out. You can get 3 or 4 weeks of television out of it. There's one of our new super chats. There's Dexter Loomis. Look at that shot. Is that not... That's one of the things I love about pro wrestling. How ridiculous that screenshot looks. We got S-Jaw. S-Jaw 10. Imagine if Straight Edge CM hung / Tony Montana before. I don't know what you're trying to say, but Tony Montana, he pops up here on these streams every week. Clapstick77, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm making this an angle. Tony Khan comes out with Punk reminiscent of Bischoff and Hogan. They become the hottest heels, and MJF turns and beats him. That's quite the imagination that you have there, Clapstick. Frank Aquilino, great show tonight. AEW needs Rampage to be 2 hours so they can focus on talent like Malachi so they don't get frustrated. Tony Khan needs to fire Punk and focus everything on MJF. David Meltzer. How can anyone believe Punk over the Elites? Ah, Dave, come on. Your bias is showing, Dave. Come on, Dave. Rizzo, I don't know if you saw, but Brandy Rhodes tweeted, I've been way too bleeping nice. Hey, Omar, thank you for the sub. I've been way too bleeping nice. Maybe nothing, but I know we all remember there were rumors she was hard to work with and Cody would not talk about it either. I have a feeling there'll be a lot that comes out about the Elite in due time. Again, I'm not saying they're innocent by any stretch of the imagination. Do not confuse my words. I am no fan of how the Elite have handled themselves. The stories about them have been out there for a while, and things that they've been, supposedly saying about people, and stuff about them and FTR behind the scenes. I mean, again, there's stories, and then there's smoke to the fire in certain situations. You hear stories about them, but I have a feeling in due time we may be hearing more about the Elite. Magician Sapphire, I honestly wanted the best friends to be in, or to win the trios belts. They're day ones and still have not won titles. Either build to a rematch at Grand Slam or have Cassidy beat Pac for the All-Atlantic title. I'd rather have him beat Pac for the All-Atlantic title than put the trios belts on best friends. I don't want to see the trios belts on best friends. I like them on Death Triangle. Magnanimous Leonard Burnley. Tony Khan was Tony Khan, and that's the problem. I see what you did there. Frank Aquilino, I agree. Mox is awesome. He needs a raise. Kurt Wright, Solo, NBA, Young Boy, and Elite are banned from Chicago NBA Youngboy and Elite are banned. Who's what? Spicy Dried Chicken. Jon Moxley is the real MVP of all Elite wrestling. Armchair Critic. Better overall wrestler, Seth Rollins or CM Punk? CM Punk is far more engaging and entertaining on promos and realistic on promos. Better in-ring wrestler is Seth Rollins. So I guess it depends on what do you look for in your pro wrestler. Do you look for more better in-ring skills? Do you look more for the overall package, character, promos, charisma? Because then you got to give it to Punk. But if you kind of weigh it more on in-ring, I would give it to Rollins. Better overall wrestler? Oh man, I'd go Punk in his prime. Punk's not in his prime anymore, but I would go CM Punk. Dry chicken without flavor. I will admit, I was considering not watching Dynamite tonight after this whole AEW hot mess news. Thankful MJF and Jon Moxley helped the show tonight. Bill's Mafia Leader, 1778 with the $9.99. Not only a channel member, but also dropping some donos. Thank you, Bill's. Bill's Mafia Leader. Sean D, great. Now I want to see Carl Weathers in a ring. King Bling Blah, Rampage should be Ring of Honor just under the Rampage name. I don't think that's what TNT paid for, though. If it were that simple, Tony Khan would just, he'd probably just convert Rampage into a Ring of Honor show. Akil Yajaman. Do not let the ongoing AEW debacle conveniently distract you all from the fact that Scott Steiner had a 141 and 2/3% chance of winning at Sacrifice. Oh, wait. How did he used to say sacrifice? He didn't say sacrifice. He would say like, sacrifice? He used to say it a certain way. It used to make me laugh. Spicy Dried Chicken. If the Acclaim don't win the World Tag Team titles at Grand Slam, Tony Khan needs to be arrested. I don't know about that. I would say he needs to have his head examined, though. The Dada and Boys podcast I'm in California, so barely starting Dynamite, so showing some love. Question, do you ever see Daddy Khan trying to step in if this crapshoot continues? No, I don't think he wants to have anything to do with this mess. I think he just wants his son to kind of shape up, so the money rolls in. Otherwise, I don't think he wants to deal with any of this shit. Do not pass go. If I run into any of you all at Arthur Ashe, I am shouting, Moo! Michael with the $5 super chat. Michael Anthony's, thank you. Sean R, what's up, Solomonster? Does AEW more fast-paced indie style, I guess, led to more injuries versus WWE's kind of by-the-book routine style? AEW is more exciting in the ring, but I also see a lot of injuries. No, I mean, WWE goes through these periods where they'll have a bunch of injuries too. It's just AEW does tend to have more gimmick matches and people taking risks, but honestly, it happens to both companies. We've been through this with WWE before too, where you have like half a dozen people injured at once. Dr. War God, Moxley has become to AEW what Cena was to WWE and Tanahashi for New Japan. Also, the Elite must be in serious trouble to be stripped of the Trios title, as they should be. As they should be. They're not innocent in this. Scott Woodford, I missed AEW after Tony announced friend passed away today. I'm very sorry to hear that, Scott. I am very sorry. Dr. War God, CM Punk and Ace Steel have to be finished. Steel should be in jail, honestly. That said, keep on awesomeness, Solomonster. Hey, Dangerous Damien, channel member for 11 months. How would you rate the first AEW year for Punk, Bryan, and Cole? Also, what do you think Punk's hero, Bret Hart, would think of the current situation. I think Bret would give this whole situation a 4 out of 10. That's what I think. Punk honestly was having a perfectly fine first year until he fucking did the stage dive and broke his foot, and ever since then it's been all downhill. Danielson, I think, has been just a huge pickup in terms of working with a lot of the younger guys in the ring and having kick-ass matches on TV. Adam Cole has not had a great year, I don't think. He's not had a great first year. He's been plagued by injuries. He hasn't really done a lot. I know he did have the match with Hangman. He challenged for the world title, but I would rank Cole at the bottom of that list, honestly, in terms of his first year. Charlie Sanchez, $10 super chat. Did you catch the look on Bryan's face when Hangman reached for a handshake? The way he dismissed it and his stern look. I don't remember him being like that in his previous matches. I didn't really notice it. I think I just kind of chalked it up to his, demeanor in the tournament. He was like that when he came out at the end of the show. When he told, Yuta, shake his hand, and he had that stern look on his face even at the end. From the moment he walked out on this show, it wasn't the usual smiley kind of Bryan Danielson. Sean R. also, does the indie style lead to more, or lead to the business being exposed more? I'm asking because I see a lot of waiting for moves or guys standing around for long periods of time until it looks a little ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things about wrestling I absolutely hate. We do see a lot more of that today. Guys waiting around. Let's get the pile together so we can catch the guy. I'm not saying I don't want them to protect the guy when they jump. But I'd rather them not even do the fucking dives in the first place. It looks so contrived when they do that. It looks ridiculous. Even Pac a few weeks ago did this spot from the top turnbuckle, not the turnbuckle, the top of the ring post, down onto people who were outside the ring. It took him 30 fucking seconds to position himself, and the whole time everybody on the outside is kind of waiting. They're waiting to catch him. It looks ridiculous. Christopher Smith, I'm looking forward to seeing the eventual feud between Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker. Jamie needs to join Blackpool Combat Club. She would fit right in and help her career in massive ways. That's exactly what I pitched a few weeks ago. Justin Logue, thank you for the $2. Uffman Entertainment, Daniel Garcia won a title in the main event in his hometown on his birthday. Is it his birthday? I didn't know that. Wow. So not only was he in his hometown, it was his birthday. So what is he now, 26? Happy birthday. I didn't know it was his birthday. Spicy Dried Chicken. This year has been a dark side of the ring come to reality. Sonny and Jeff Hardy's DUI, Vince McMahon's hush money, and AEW Backstage drama. Did you see the Dark Side of the Ring parody that somebody put together? It was floating around on Twitter. Fucking great. I don't know who put that together. I think somebody on Reddit maybe, but really well done. Really well done. BCom, see clearly. Mox is the MVP, love it or hate it. And I hate how everybody acted. It's sad, pathetic, and Moxley looked like something was truly wrong. Could you tell? He looked pissed. He had the look of a man who was not supposed to be at work today, but had to come in because other people don't know how to conduct themselves. That's what that look was. He looked irritated and just annoyed. And he has every right to feel that way. King Bling Blah, buy or sell, join WWE or AEW commentary, one night only. I feel like now under Triple H, it wouldn't be as it wouldn't be nearly as stressful as it probably would have been under Vince McMahon. I would say WWE. AEW has way too many people at the desk. They would have Excalibur, Taz, Tony Schiavone, William Regal would be making weird sexual innuendos at me. Solomonster, good to see you, my dear. Like, it would be fucking weird. I would do commentary on Raw with Jimmy Smits and or Jimmy Smith, or Jimmy Smits. Andre Israel, buy or sell? Main event Uso or main event Garcia? I gotta go main event Uso. Love Lie, who's scarier? Dexter Loomis? Dexter Loomis or Michael Myers? Michael Myers. Only about a month away from Halloween Ends. Behind the Fiends is it time that we all start looking at Punk as the problem and not the promotions he's been part of? He seems to nuke every bridge. He's a very prickly guy. Always has been. Rizzo with the $20 super chat. Do you think if you and Tony Khan had a one-on-one and he had to answer a question truthfully, do you think he would admit that he regrets signing Punk? Publicly, I know he'll never admit it, but I'm wondering what he thinks privately. No, I don't think. I think he's enamored with Punk. That's why he sat there and didn't say a fucking word on Sunday. Or he tried to, he got cut off. He sat there and he nodded at every fucking thing that CM Punk had to say. I think he's in love with the guy. I think that's why he signed him. He said at the very beginning of all this whole AEW thing, CM Punk was his number one target for a signing. Wink the Cosmic Grandma. Can't help but wonder where FTR is siding since they have been friends with the Bucks for over a decade while becoming best friends in real life with Punk. I would think they're on probably with Punk, but I don't know. You'd have to ask them. Amir, $10 super chat. If Punk gets fired, then his last night he won the title in his hometown, ate cupcakes while telling the media his bosses are dumb, and then knocked one out while his bestie bit another. Kind of legendary, not gonna lie. Anthony Perks with the $9.99. If Punk and the Elite can reconcile for the sake of business, should they get a second chance? It would be pretty hard to reach the heights that they reached without them. If they all were willing to sit in a room and hash out their differences and apologize, they still need to be punished. Punk still has to be suspended, fined. The Bucks should lose their EVP titles. But if they could, get together, reconcile, admit that they were wrong, then sure. But I don't see that happen. EJ Slamp, I'm starting to think All Out was AEW's Survivor Series 97. Both were not the best shows, but the most infamous, and I can say I was there. Epsilon Sama, the Elite have bullied FTR, MJF, Cody, and, of course, CM Punk. Jake Johnson, isn't entertainment supposed to make you forget about your troubles? It is. It's supposed to give you an escape for a few hours. Dr. Dakota Scorpio, Punk's new motto, eat, sleep, burn a bridge, repeat. Justin Logue, professionalism always. Things go bad, walk away. Animu Powered Wrestling. Harold Mage must be laughing at the Elite. Trey Leon. Leadership starts at the top. Tony Khan needs to be a boss. Stop being a mark. Page should not have shot on Punk. They pushed Punk and he pushed back. Food Hive, what did Disco Dipshit say to Cody for Cody to murder him on Twitter like that? I don't remember, but it was something very dumb. BCOM see clearly, is Moxley an AEW Hall of Famer already because he showed me that you overcome addiction, reinvent, stay calm, and more in situations that you cannot control. Yeah, I mean, of course, if they ever have an AEW Hall of Fame, he'll be the first guy in. Him or Jericho will be the first guy in. Daniel, what about Pat leaving WWE? Great show. Yeah, I was bummed to hear about that. I was actually really bummed to hear about Pat McAfee. It's just temporary, but it's going to be a few months. He's doing the college game day thing, so he's going to be off SmackDown. I would assume we'll just get Corey Graves with Michael Cole, but I would love it if they brought Wade Barrett up from NXT, had him do NXT and SmackDown, or you have Nigel McGuinness. I think Nigel or Wade should get a shot next to Michael Cole. Food Hive, a guy at the gym had on a Kenny Omega shirt. Never spoke to him before, but he walked by us as I held up the too sweet. He obliged. I love wrestling. Well, you know what you should do? The next time you see him, you should bite him. EJ Slemp, the guy who won my fantasy football league last year, cheated, and we have stripped him of his title, so even vacant is a champion in my fantasy league. Well, you've now taken more action than Tony Khan. No, Tony Khan took the same action. Joseph Brooks, even though he did eventually go to WWE, would you say that Abyss was the last soldier of the original TNA? Ah, the TNA soldiers. You just reminded me of the TNA soldiers. I can't say that without laughing. Remember when I had that whole feud? Actually, I didn't have a feud with anybody. They had a feud with me. I just ignored them. Some guy sitting in his fucking bunker, it looked like, when he would record videos. He had one of those fucking Russian fur hats on his head. He was the TNA general. He was fighting the battle of some great war. He didn't like that I was making fun of TNA every week. The TNA soldiers. Yeah, I think Abyss was kind of the last of a dying breed. Kind of the one of the TNA originals. I think that's fair. Food Hive, Y2J and Cody on Punk locker room leadership story. LOL. Yeah, years ago they kind of mocked the idea. They told us Cody told a story of back in WWE many years ago. CM Punk once in the locker room saying, you know, I'm the locker room leader or something like that. And they all laughed. They kind of mocked him. Hey Stubby, thank you for the sub. Thank you, Stubby. Stubby 1085. Moto, I predict that time will repeat itself once again. The Young Bucks will use their shoe shopping money to string Punk and Steel in court for months. Behind the Fiends, Tony Khan needs to learn from wrestling history and see how putting talent in executive roles played a part in killing the old territories. Rizzo, even if the skirmish does not happen, this is the second time that Punk got hurt and will miss time after winning a championship. How do you put him in another title feud? I don't. That should be the last time he sees the TNA World title. The only other time he should see the TNA World title is when he is signing 8x10s in 10 years of him holding it. We got Trey Leon, hashtag BiteGate. Horror Frank. I don't know. AEW Brawl for All, Punk, Omega, Bucks, and Steel. Food Hive, backstage brawl match on Fight Forever is going to be crazy. Did I say TNA? I meant AEW. CM Punk was never the TNA World Champion. I think I malfunctioned there for a second. I had a malfunction. That's what happens when you barely get any sleep over the last few days. Food Hive, backstage. I said that. See, I don't know what I'm doing. Drew McIncock. My new name for him is CM Skunk. X-Raven. I'm no big Elite fan, but it seems to be unclear that they perpetuated rumors about Punk. Do you believe they may have been unfairly framed? Do they even have a history of gossiping about talent? I mean, there have been stories out there for years. I can't vouch whether or not, you know, all of them are true. This is not the first time, though, that they have been accused of such a thing. I can tell you that. Could they have been framed in this particular instance? It's possible. Maybe CM Punk directed his fire at the wrong people. It's possible. That would just make it worse. Food Hive, if Adam Cole wasn't hurt, would you pull the trigger? On the world title? No, I don't think I would. Not on him. Not right now. King Bling Blah, worst punishment that you got as a kid. What did you do? I don't know. Worst punishment. I got smacked in the face. But I deserved it. I won't get into what I did, but I deserved it. So But I never got the belt or anything like that. I mean, I was threatened with it. That was enough to get me to stop doing what I was doing. My father would have done it, but he never actually did. Fear can be very effective. At least for me it was. But no, I got slapped in the face once for doing something I shouldn't have done. We got Hulkling93. No disrespect to Epsilon, but nobody but Punk is responsible for unnaturally bringing up Cabana. He knew exactly what he was doing with that question. Omar. Jon Moxley is everything CM Punk thinks that he is. Ryan Wooldridge. Did Black retire from wrestling? For now, he has. He is stepping away. So I would say it's a temporary retirement. Food Hive. JR was suspended for throwing barbecue sauce on Larry. JR. It's terrible. No wonder he wasn't on Dynamite tonight. First timer, try doing a you laugh, you lose stream. Would be fun. I don't know what that is. Marqueezy. Is it Marqueezy or Marquis? I hope it's Marqueezy. Otherwise, I just insulted the guy. If Danielson wins this tournament, it'll be the second time he wins a world championship because of Punk's antics. It's a good point. It's a very good point. James Hollins, Ace Steel reacted because his wife was in the room. I don't give a shit what his excuse was. He fucking bit somebody, allegedly. He threw a chair and he bit somebody. I don't care if his wife was in the room. I don't care if his mistress was in the room talking to his wife. His kids were in the room. There's no excuse for throwing a chair at somebody's face and biting somebody. What is he on, bath salts? James Hollins, not James Hollins, Skywalker. Tony Khan is afraid to fire CM Punk because of those CM Punk chants lingering after he is gone, like in WWE. D'Lo 305. Hey Solo, I was thinking if Punk and the Elite can put this behind them after their suspensions, would a future program with Punk and FTR against the Elite be best for business? It's probably better to just keep them apart, in all honesty. I mean, they would really have to. CM Punk does not strike me as the kind of guy who lets bygones be bygones. When in his life or his career has CM Punk ever let bygones be bygones with anything? I mean, I don't get the sense he's that kind of person. Paul Heyman, can we officially call Pac 2-Pac? 2-Pac, 2 belts? It's not your best work. Not your best work. David Meltzer, I want my family back. Harrison Ford. It's a great movie. I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. Philip Hansen. How about MJF pulling a Seth Rolling and make the championship match a triple threat? I don't know why he would do that, though. I mean, why wouldn't he wait until the match was over? TRG Swag, buy or sell, Kane 1997 mask or 1978 Michael Myers? 1978 Michael Myers is still the most unnerving mask that I've seen, so I have to go with the Shatner mask. I gotta go with the Shatner mask. Rizzo, I do wonder how much of Punk being pissed off had to do with the fact that he knew he was hurt again. Not excusing it, but it could be frustration that unfortunately for everybody turned ugly. Could have been part of it. Still no excuse. People get hurt all the time. They don't go off and start ranting and raving about things that have absolutely nothing to do with what they're there to talk about. Boots, Moxley was channeling Dante Hicks from Clerks. I'm not even supposed to be here. Also, what is the latest on Layla Hirsch? Layla Hirsch is hurt. She's got a knee injury. She's going to be out for a while. I don't know exactly how long, but she's going to be out for a while. Jeremy Pasta with the $4.99 super chat. Thank you for being constantly in my ear for the last 8 years. I'm drunk. Good night, sir. Okay. I'm in his ear, and he's drunk. Bernard Frederick, CM Punk stock has gone down so much that TNA would not sign him. Oh, I guarantee you TNA would sign him. A lot of promoters would love to be in the CM Punk business. Andre Israel, have you ever had any heat with any wrestlers for something they said or did to you from an exchange online or in an interview? Not an interview, but I've had heat with some wrestlers before. Yeah, I mean, anybody who's been listening to me for a long time probably remembers the whole Alex Riley fiasco. So, and I've heard from wrestlers in some cases, DMs and stuff, who haven't liked things that I've said. They've come across clips on YouTube where they listen to the show in some cases, and we're not very happy with things that I said, and, we deal with it. We work it out. Jeremy Thunderstrikes. Although I guess Shawn Michaels still hasn't forgiven me. I guess I said something to upset him, and he's had me blocked on Twitter for years. Jeremy Thunderstrikes. Cody, when he goes back to AEW. Adrenaline in my soul. Where the fuck did everybody go? And Paul Heyman. Can we say that AEW now has their own toxic attraction? Paul Heyman, you're trying too hard, man. You're trying too hard. It should come naturally to you. I don't know. This is it's not your best work. Oh Harold. Oh Harold just dropped a $1.99. $1.99 super chat. Do you watch or listen to other wrestling YouTubers? I'm friendly with a bunch of them, and I try to check out at least clips of their content when I can, but I usually don't have time to go, watch any full stuff. But I try to keep up with my friends and some of the people I like, and I try not to single out too many, because then I know some will be upset if I don't name them. So that's why I don't like answering too many of those questions. People get very sensitive if you don't include them. Rizzo. Man, Rizzo is on fire tonight. Another $20 super chat. Last one, and this is for people like Punk, who seem to be bitter people. I'm divorced, and trust me, the bitterness only hurts you. Let the bitterness and hate go, and you will feel 1,000,000 times better. Love you guys. That is some sage advice from Rizzo. That's actually very well said. It will consume you. To be that upset and to be that bitter about certain things, it really is. It's exhausting. And I think that's very good advice in life. Not just for CM Punk. Isaiah Johnson, first super chat. You got me through my days. Thank you, Isaiah. That's what I'm here for. Send in the clowns. Look who it is. It's Bully the Clown. Jeremy Pasta. Joe Jones. Joe Jones is Christ. Joe Jones? Yukio Rules, thank you for keeping me up to date on everything. You are the man. Yukio, thank you for that $30 Bully the Clown. I think that's not everybody's, but I know there's a bunch of people that's their favorite super chat. Abanov, not saying how he did it was correct, but your thoughts on if what he said about the EVPs was right. I think he was right, especially the Reseda line. Well, the Reseda line was him making it clear who he was referring to. He was referring to the Young Bucks. Yeah, I mean, look, there's no innocent parties in this situation. The Bucks are not innocent. Hangman's not innocent. Punk's not innocent. Ace Steel sure as shit ain't it. I mean, if nobody else gets fired, Ace Steel has got to go. Ace Steel is the expendable one here. But there really are no innocent parties in this. I'm finding it very difficult to have sympathy for anybody in this situation. Except maybe Tony Khan a little bit, but again, it's kind of a mess of his own making. Isaiah Johnson, here's the second. I love you. I love you right back, Isaiah. Thank you very much. King Blaine Blah, Roman with the Bloodline against Cody with the Bucks and Omega at WrestleMania. I think Triple H, if he had the chance, would love to book that. Wake the Cosmic Grandpa or Grandma. I just changed his gender. If this was the 90s WWF and Paige and the Elite went after Shawn Michaels personally when he was the top babyface, they would be blacklisted. So how is this different? Times have changed. I don't think they would be blacklisted. I think they'd be buried. Their careers would be over until their contracts just run out and they left the company. Real Zach James, Bryan Danielson with the most devastating finisher in AEW, the roll-up. I smoke a lot of weed with the 99 cents. There's my boy. I smoke a lot of weed. Winston Smith, have you seen 30 for 30, Doc and Daryl? Did I see it? I was going to watch it. I think I saw part of it, but I didn't finish it. James Hollins, you would fire Punk but keep the Elite. That's fair. You didn't pay attention to what I said. You need to go back and pay closer attention to what I said. We are still waiting on details of exactly what role the Elite played in the start of the brawl. I did say that they should be stripped of their EVP titles. But this whole thing started on Sunday by Punk, not the Elite. Pay attention. Listening comprehension. Pay attention to what I'm saying. I made it very clear I'm talking about Punk kickstarting this whole thing on Sunday, regardless of what may have been going on behind the scenes. He's the one who got the ball rolling on this on Sunday. There's a big difference there. BCOM, see clearly, Colt Cabana is smart to not say anything still. Yeah, I mean, he told Fightful he doesn't want to comment on this for his mental health. I mean, what do you think he thinks watching all this play out? I'm sure he's gotten a shit ton of abuse. TRG Swag, worst finish, Hell in a Cell 2019 or Halloween Resurrection? Halloween Resurrection was shit from beginning to end. I'll go with Hell in a Cell 2019. Oh, man. All right. Well, I think I've covered all of your... I think I'm all caught up on your messages here. So I'll read a few more coming in. I'll read those. But let's be the booker before it gets too late. Let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
You guys got me. You got the likes goal. You met the likes goal. So we are doing Be the Booker tonight. Let's book some matches here. Hopefully these people don't get out of line at the media scrum after the event's over. Otherwise, I'll have to suspend them. Start things out with the men. We'll do men's Be the Booker first, as we usually do. Kick things off with the great Khali. That is already a fail. I'm morbidly curious, though. Who is the great Khali going to be stepping into the ring with? It'll be the great Khali going one-on-one with Kofi Kingston. Yeah, that's... Not even Kofi can save that. Not even Kofi can save that. Not starting out on the right foot. Let's tie the ladies. We've got, Camille. NWA Women's Champion. Camille. Not a bad choice. I think this is the first time we've chosen Camille here in Be the Booker. Let's see, we got Camille going one on. You know what I noticed? Camille and Ruby Soho. I like that. I've noticed something very weird going on here with Be the Booker. And this happens a lot. Something's going on with this animation here. It likes to stop on Nikita Lyons, on that shot of Nikita Lyons in that position showing her ass there. I think this thing has a mind of its own. Because it's always stopping on Nikita. Not that I blame it, but it's a little freaky. Easy there, big fella. Calm down. Now we go to the tag teams. We begin with, Benson and Stabler. From Law and Order. One of the greatest TV combos of all time. Benson and Stabler. Back together again. If you're still paying attention to the new episodes of Law and Order. Back together on TV again. Benson and Stabler against Edge and Christian. I like that match. I'm giving that the bell. Law and Order SVU, baby. Olivia Benson. I used to have such a crush on Olivia Benson. Still do. She's a beautiful lady. Ain't no apologizing for that. You never know what's going to come up and be the booker. I always tell you guys, you never know who is going to come up and be the booker. Pillow v. Pillow with the $7 super chat. Punk says, if you have a problem, come find me. Why didn't he go find Hangman or the Bucks when he had a problem? Good question. I don't know. If somebody was talking shit about me behind my back, I know I'd go find them. That's a very good question. And Samoan Fan 101, I keep confusing Buck Zumov and Boris Zukov. Well, considering what Buck Zumov was convicted of, I would be very offended if I was Boris Zukov. I would not want to be confused with somebody like Buck Zumov. And BCom see clearly Ruby Soho did dirty. Where is her redemption? Well, she's going to be out of action with a broken nose. So she's on the injured list. Tamara in the chat just gifted one Solomonster Sounds Off membership. Yes, you can gift memberships now. You can gift memberships now on the channel. Tamara, that's very nice of you. Boomerang was gifted a membership by Tamara Davis. See? Tamara is the nicest person in the entire chat. That's why we have her here as a moderator, holding down the fort. Yeah, she is. You know, Ruby is lucky her neck isn't broken after Sammy dropped her on her fucking head. Anyway, we've gone almost 3 hours tonight. I didn't even realize we had gone that long. Holy shit. Holy shit. Almost 3 hours tonight. That is crazy. And we're up over 1,200 likes, so thank you guys for that. If you have not hit the like button before you leave here tonight, do please hit the thumbs up. It does help the videos out. These last few super chats here, we got John Garcia. Jade Cargill is the longest reigning champion in AEW. Jade Cargill is probably the most dominant. Oh, there's the super chat. The most dominant, booked champion in the entire company. They book her better than pretty much any other champion they have. And Dr. Dakota Scorpio missed mine and someone else super chat before Be the Booker. Hey, you're going to make me go back now, aren't you? You're going to make me go back now. Let's see. I don't think I did. No, I got these. No, I got them. I don't even see yours here. Maybe it didn't come through on my end. Oh, here we go. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. Dr. Dakota Scorpio. They punch you and they bite you and they tell you it's fair. So beat it, but you want to be bad. That's what you made me go back to read. I thought it was something actually, like some kind of really intelligent comment of some kind. And the Nacho Man. Heat? What about that issue with Teddy Long? Oh, yeah. No, I didn't have an issue with Teddy. Teddy had an issue with me, and it was something very dumb. And I told him it was very dumb, and we squashed it, and that was the end of it. So I don't have any issue with Teddy Long. It was a misunderstanding. It was much ado about nothing. But yes, the issue with me and Teddy Long was squashed a long time ago. And Joshua Bonfield wants to know, how is Mox in the corner? He's doing okay. He was very animated tonight, so he's off in the corner. He's resting. Hey, Mox, how you doing?
Fuck haven't done.
No matter what I ask him, he always has the same answer. He really doesn't like that guy. Chris Manson says, to be honest, Solomonster, you're out of touch, and I am out of time. Well, so am I. I'm out of time, too. I'm going to let you guys go here. We covered a lot of ground tonight. A lot of good stuff. A lot of opinions from you guys. Some of you agree with me. Some of you don't. That's cool. But that's how I feel about the whole Punk situation. I'm sure more details will come out in the days ahead. We don't have the full story yet. We don't even have the full story of who's suspended, who's fired, who's not. If anybody's fired, we don't know yet. I am sure that by the time we get to Sound Off 773 this Sunday, I'll have a lot more to say about this stuff. I hope you will tune in for the audio show. Again, vote on Twitter at Solomonster if you have not already done so. And hit that like button on your way out. Thank you for all of the support this entire weekend. Just total madness. And we'll come back on Friday night. We'll do it all over again. So be well, stay safe, have yourselves a great week, great night. And I'll see you back here on Friday night for the SmackDown and probably Rampage stream. I'll see you guys then.